All right, we're back on. We're back on. I'm going to let you guys load back up. Okay, this time we're going to be dealing with overcoming sexual abuse. We're going to be dealing with sexual abuse. And this is going to be more, we're going to do a little bit of teaching. We're going to do more of a discussion than anything. And I think that that's important for a lot of you to get healing. I saw somebody had asked a question on the previous video that I did. Somebody asked a question, how did I overcome? How did I get healed from all the things that I have gone through? And all I can say is genuinely is just God. I pursued him. I found that healing does not come from blaming people. It does not come from me going and sitting inside of a counselor's office and talking for hours on end about things that I've gone through. I found that my healing came through my pursuit of God. And in pursuing God, one of the things that happened to me was that he led me to the right people to not only tell my story for me to get healed, but to help heal other people. I found that people get healed when they help to heal other people. People get healed when they help to heal other people. So do me a favor, guys. I don't see anybody in the chat. Start chatting and let me know y'all are on. I see people watching, but I'm waiting to load up. Let me know you guys are on here. Let me know you guys are live. Hey, hello. Thank you, sis. Hey. Remember, guys, you can get this t-shirt from High Quality. That's hyqualitychicks.com. This is from a girl. Yeah, Chicks, CHICKS. This is from a girl that goes to my church. So do me a favor, show her some report. These are some really nice shirts. This is a really nice shirt. So let's go ahead. We're going to deal with sexual abuse. I'm so glad you guys came back on. I know quite a few people are probably not going to come back on, and then quite a few of you have. So let's go ahead and get into it. I want to deal with now sexual abuse. Abuse is always triggered by a need for power. This is what surprises so many people. Abusers are turned on sexually and or charged up adrenaline wise whenever they have power over another human being. Now, in light of the R. Kelly scandal and all this stuff that's coming out about R. Kelly, I'll just stop and just kind of briefly say this. One of the reasons that this has gone on for so long is because we have tolerated it in the African American community. This is something that's been going on for a long time. R. Kelly's just on a platform. He's platforming the things that happen behind closed doors. This is something that has happened in a lot of our communities for a long time. As I mentioned in the previous recording, all too often what happened with our parents was, especially if they came from the South or what have you, they grew up and they dealt with a lot of racism. So whenever you had a predator in the family, nobody called 911 on the predator. Nobody called the police on the predator. I remember talking to a cousin of mine one day, and she's a lot younger than me, but I was talking to this cousin, and I remember her. She has so much hate. Hold up, okay. She had so much hate for an uncle of mine, and she was just talking about how he had molested her and stuff like that, and one particular time she was ready to take his life. As a woman, she hates him. And I surprised her when I told her. I said, girl, he molested me. He molested just about every female in the family. She was like, what? I was like, yeah, he went through the family. But he was tolerated. It's not like he didn't. As a matter of fact, he got caught trying to molest one of my cousins and what have you. And he was still invited over. The family thought they could deal with him. And they tried to, deal with him in their own way. And I told her, I said, he's a family predator. He's a family predator. He was tolerated by the family, and so that's the reason why people have a tendency, or these are things that are happening in our communities, is because we have a tendency to tolerate sexual abuse. As a matter of fact, we are intimidating abuse victims. We have them so afraid to tell their story because they're afraid of the judgmental people who are going to come out and say, why did you wait so long to tell your story? Or your story, why did you do this? It's your fault. You shouldn't have did this and you shouldn't have done that. I can tell you, as a person who was a victor, not a victim, but who was a victim, one of the biggest fears that I had when I was a victim was being judged, was having people to come out and say, it's your fault. You shouldn't have done this. Why'd you go in that man's house? Why'd you do this and why'd you do that? I made so many dumb decisions as a young woman because I simply just didn't know any better. I had nobody to educate me. I had nobody. My mom never said to me, don't go to a man's house. She never said that. She just didn't know. You know, I don't think that's something she thought about. It's not that she intentionally withheld that. It's just something that she was never told. It's something that she just never really thought about. So a lot of times our young women aren't really educated. And so we see in a lot of bad neighborhoods where you see 13-year-old girls who are pregnant, 13, 12 years old who are pregnant. And we look and we say, well, this is just a product of the ghetto, but it's really a product of lack of information. There's not too much education. And so predators oftentimes can roam. I want you guys to hear me on this. This is one of the things I learned having grown up in the ghetto. Predators from the suburbs and all around, black, white, Asian, Latino, will come into the ghetto because they know people lack information there. They'll come there and take advantage of young women because they know the women lack information. So a lot of times with young women, like some people are really ridiculing the young women who are the victims of R. Kelly or what have you. They're ridiculing these women, but the reality is the women simply lacked information. Like they didn't necessarily know. Because the thing about it, when I was younger, if a man was to say, hey, we having this get together, and it was an opportunity for me to feel grown, I'm not thinking about sex. If I'm not thinking about those type of things, I may say to my friend, they say, bring a couple of your friends, we're going to have this. I'm like, hey. And so that's the way that I thought. A lack of information. We don't have enough older women, and that's who I blame. We don't have enough older women sitting down talking to the younger women and saying, hey, baby, listen, you don't need to be kissing on that man. Because first and foremost, his hormones all over the place. He's a young guy. When you kiss on somebody, you're going to turn him on. And if you're saying that you want to remain a virgin, if you want to wait till you're married, if you're saying that and you genuinely believe that, don't turn him on. You want to make sure that you don't turn him on. That's the one thing that you want to avoid doing, is you want to avoid turning him on. But a lot of times with young women, they feel like, well, this is what they showing me on TV. This is what they show me in the music video. There's nothing wrong with me kissing him. And then kissing leads to the young woman getting raped. Most young women lose their, I'm not going to say most, a large number of young women lose their virginity to rape, and they don't even realize they were raped. If you talk to a lot of young women and you ask them what their first sexual experience is, because the thing is, we don't talk about this stuff because it's taboo. But if you were to sit down and talk to a lot of young women and ask them, what was your first sexual encounter like? They'll kind of clam up because they don't really know how to explain it. And if you get them to talk, you'll find out that they were actually raped. You'll find out, and they don't even realize they were raped. All they knew was, I had this boyfriend and we were kissing, and the next thing you know, we were laying on his mom's couch, and I tried to tell him no, and he told me, we're not going to do anything. And before I knew it, he was inserting himself, and I'm telling him no, and he's, but he said he didn't finish. He said he stopped when I told him, and I'm just like, sweetie, he finished. He finished. You got raped. You got taken advantage of, or what have you. That's what happens in a lot of bad areas, is women are raped and they don't necessarily know that they've been raped. A lot of women end up getting pregnant as a result of rape. And what ends up happening is when this happens, is the young man will walk out of the woman's life and say, well, I didn't finish, so you had to sleep with somebody else. And so the woman's so tired, don't know she's been raped, and she don't know what happens, and it calls herself in love with the guy. She's infatuated with him, and she goes out of her way to try to rekindle the relationship or what have you. And she just goes about life brokenhearted, hoping that she can eventually prove to the guy that, hey, I love you and I wasn't with anybody else. You were my first or what have you. So that's how a lot of those relationships start. So let's go back. Abuse is always triggered by a need for power. It's all about power. Sexual abuse is all about power. Physical abuse is all about power. People are not addicted to sex. They are addicted to power. They just get the orgasm because of the power. The power is what fuels them. That's what intensifies the orgasm. That's what makes it so much greater to them. It's not about the sex. This is the reason why you will see, it says, for example, a lot of women, I'll read what I have on here. For example, a lot of men and women who raped or sodomized children were considered to be attractive or could date almost anyone they want. You ever seen somebody, like you see their prison photo and you read like child fondling, and you're just like, but dude, you fine. Dude, you fine. You could have had. It has nothing to do with sex. And this is what happens with a lot of people who don't necessarily understand it. They're just like, well, man, the dude got a lot of money and he's a handsome guy. And those girls talking about he raped them. Why would he go and rape them? Had nothing to do with sex. Had everything to do with power. The thing about it is, having the power is what he really wanted. And that intensified their sexual experience for him. Children afford them the opportunity to exercise two types of power. That's power in the moment and long-term power. That's the reason they don't go for older people, because they could go and, sleep with an older woman or somebody their age or what have you. And the thing about it is, and I know I'm just really talking, but I've seen this in Mississippi. It's very common where you see a lot of older guys who are attracted to younger women. Or when I was growing up, you see that a lot. But it has nothing to do with love. It has everything to do with power. It has everything to do with power and a need to increase one's life or elongate one's life or feel young a lot longer. It has everything to do with power. So there's power in the moment and there's long-term power. That power in the moment of having a child, having absolute control over a child doesn't have that much strength. So there's that power in the moment. Then there's long-term power, because after a child has been raped, the predator maintains a level of power, a measure of power over the victim for years, decades, and sometimes for a lifetime. Predators like to get off on going into a courtroom and looking at their victims and just really scaring the crap out of them, intimidating their victims. It has everything to do with power, and they get off on those type of things. This is the reason why they record their sexual trice. When they're recording their sexual trice, they're not looking for the sexual encounter, or they're not so much as staring at the sexual encounter as they are the power. They love seeing themselves having power over another human being. I don't remember which serial killer it was. I used to buy these books that life books and stuff like that, when they tell you all this stuff. But there was one of the serial killers I actually saw in a movie. He's a popular serial killer. I don't know, it wasn't Bundy. Okay, it was I don't remember which serial killer it was, but his wife, and it was his wife or girlfriend, in her attempt, like the telltale signs were there that he was a predator. And they had a scene in the movie where they're having sex and he has her tied up and he has his hand around her neck and she's having to play dead. And that's what turned him on, because the thing about it was power, perversion, he's sick, he's twisted. Watching the life go out of somebody's eyes intensifies, because they're demonically bound, they're full of demons. When you're dealing with a sexual predator, it's all about power. It's all about having power over another person. It has nothing, it is not so much as sex, because this is what gets people confused. This is the reason why predators continue to go free, is because we don't necessarily recognize their incessant need to be in control, to have power over another human being. They want power. When they go out there, when you see the 60-year-old man who's dating the 30-year-old woman, most cases that has everything to do with power. She doesn't know that much. A 30-year-old woman doesn't require as much as a 60-year-old woman. See, a 60-year-old woman requires you to be somewhere, in most cases, financially, spiritually, morally. There's a certain place she expects you to be at. But a 30-year-old woman may not necessarily know that she can expect those things. She thinks she's being unrealistic by expecting those things. She thinks that, oh, I shouldn't expect that. I'm asking too much or what have you. And so a lot of times that 60-year-old man likes to play on that, because he wants to have power over her. He likes to be able to come in and sit down and chill or what have you, and tell her what it is that he believes. And then he likes to use his old age to basically solidify his beliefs, or to really hammer his beliefs home. He likes to use his old age. See, that's what's wrong with you young women. Dude, you sleeping with that young woman. But that's what's wrong with you young women. Y'all just don't know, what have you. It's all about power. And once we come to understand this as a society, we'll stop empowering the wrong people. We're going to move on. When sexual perversion becomes normal in a family or a community, this is what we've seen. It has become normal. It was normal in the ghetto. It has spread out, and it has become normal in the middle class. It is now starting to trickle over into the suburbs. It's getting all over the place, and this is the reason why we're starting to address it. But when sexual perversion becomes normal in a family or a community, it stops hiding and it begins to express itself. It stops hiding. It doesn't have to take off. And so let me show you how normal it has become. Our commercials, our music videos, our movies, our songs, everything is laced with sex. Everything is about sex. Sex has become normal in our society. We are living in a twisted, perverted society where women, even women of church, have learned to idolize and to look up to the whore. We've gotten to the point where we look at her hair. Who did her hair? We love the way that men look at her. We love the power she has over a man when she stares at him. We love that, not realizing it's a temporary power. It's a temporary moment. It's something that a moment of control that she has. She has a window of control, but that's about it. She gets to control him for just a minute, just for a few minutes or a few days, a few weeks, maybe even a few years, but eventually he sobers up. But we are so addicted to that. It has become normal in our community, and it's slowly becoming normal in the United States. And it has stopped hiding itself a long time ago. It stopped hiding itself a long time ago. And so now we're starting to see it express itself all over the place. And we see so many of our young women who don't know the value of the body. They don't know the value of who they are. And it's crazy when you're younger and you have that, I call it the young girl body, where everything is in place and your metabolism is high and it doesn't matter how much you eat, your body stays in shape. When you have that, a lot of times you don't have enough wisdom to hide it. But when you get old enough and your body may not be all that fit or what have you, you can't do all that. You got the wisdom to hide it and the need to hide it as well. You have the wisdom to hide it and the need to hide it. But a lot of times younger women don't understand, because TV glamorizes Jezebel. TV glamorizes Delilah. The television set. When you're watching a music video, and this is what I blame us for. This is our issue. When you're watching a music video, and it's got this half naked woman on there, and she's got this big voluptuous butt, and she's got these big pouty lips and these, big chest and all this other stuff, and she's, turning around and shaking it and stuff like that. We're allowing them to tell us through this to channel this entire belief system to really what's the word I'm looking for? But anyhow, we're allowing them to teach us that this is how you're supposed to be. This is how you're supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to look like. This is what you're supposed to act like. You're supposed to be prideful, half naked, show off your assets, have sex before marriage. You're supposed to do all of this, and this is what gets the man. And we've gotten to the point that we've reduced our value so much through premarital sex, running out here trying to find somebody who will love us, trying to hump ourselves into a marriage. We've done that so long that most videos that deal with relationships now say how to get a man, how to keep a man. You will not see videos how to get a wife and how to keep a wife. If you pay attention, you will not see people doing videos on how to keep a wife. Even in the church, you will see people talking about how to get a husband, how to keep a husband. Because right now, we're living in an age where a lot of people don't realize the value of the seek. God says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. A lot of people don't realize the value of the seek, because most women have been raped out of their hiding places. They've been molested out of their hiding places. They've been seduced out of their hiding places. And they've gotten to the point where they're so perverted that they're chasing a man. And I'm not saying chasing him by calling him. I'm not saying chasing him by going to his house, by chasing him by what you wear, chasing him by the way that the things that you do, chasing him by the words that you say. We've gotten it to a point where we're trying to get somebody to, because we don't know our own value. So we're going up to men and we're trying to audition for a part in their lives. I remember seeing a Facebook Live and, seeing a bunch of men of God on there talking about what they want in a woman. Yeah, because if a woman want me. And I just remember feeling disgusted and saying, when did we get to this place? It's because most of our women, a large majority of our women have been seduced, raped, abandoned, rejected. They have gone through so much that they don't even realize they're supposed to be hiding. So now you got a bunch of men out there telling you how to find them. Now you have a bunch of men sitting out there. If a woman want to be with me, see, I can't be. Well, you can't be. You see what I'm saying? I'm saying you. Yeah, I don't mind you being a prophetess, but you can't be all, holy and all that other stuff. Shoot, I'm gonna need to see this, I'm gonna need to see that. You got a lot of guys who they're not speaking to virgins. I gotta be transparent. If you really listen with your heart, they're not speaking to virgins anymore. They're calling out the molested, the rejected, and the raped, and they're telling them what you need to do to get with me. Not realizing that if you're still seeking somebody like that, 9 times out of 10, you have no staying power, and she has no staying power. They're asking for temporary women to come into their lives to fulfill a momentary, temporary need, a temporal need. They're trying to get somebody to come into their lives. Maybe that's that need in this season to have a wife, that need to not feel rejected, that need to have that beautiful wife on their arms that they can show off as well, because they're so tired of seeing their friends walking around with a beautiful woman on their arms and saying, my wife. So they're sitting up there, and it's just they're trying to fulfill a temporary need. So you have guys who are dressing up and getting ready to come out and tell you how to get a man and how to keep a man. When, baby girl, you are the treasure. You're the reward. You got to understand it. But because we don't understand this as a society, because we've been rejected, raped, molested, taken advantage of, we've had guys to walk away from us because we wouldn't have sex with them, because we've been taught that we're only as valuable as our vagina, we're sitting back and we're just waiting on somebody to come along, and we're chasing the idea of being married. We're chasing the idea of being married. We're chasing men. We're chasing. So it's now the gazelle is now hunting the lion, and the lion is sitting there like, if you want me, you got to come over here. Then he devours you and spits your bones out, and you got to collect yourself and go back out there all over again. And I tell, anytime any man that's connected to me, one of the things I often tell them is, don't further victimize her. Don't further victimize her. You don't know what that sister been through. You need to be the man, the voice to help to build her back up. You need to be the man to tell her you ain't got to do all that. Listen, that ain't necessary. You need to be the person that tell her, go cover yourself up. Because she needs to hear that. Go cover yourself up. Wait, God's going to send a man to you. You need to be the one that tell her, why are you wearing that? You got to be the one that tell her, because she respects you. As a man, to the men of God, hear me when I say this. Women respect the voice of a man more than they respect the voice of a woman. You have the power to tell her to put her clothes on. You have the power to tell her, you know what? You dangling yourself. Every time I see you dangling yourself in front of men. I see you when a man is talking to you. See, this is the reason why we have to be observant. I see you when a man is talking to you, you locked in his eyes. Yeah. You locked. But when a woman is talking to you, just like this. Girl, for real? You locked in his eyes. That is the evidence of some type of sexual trauma. That is the evidence that she sees herself as a sexual creature. And I have to say this. No woman who sees herself as a sexual creature will ever make a good wife. She has to be delivered from that belief. She has to get delivered from that. As long as she sees herself as a sexual creature, she will always think of bewitching moments. Her fantasies are about bewitching you. Her fantasies are about listening to R. Kelly, playing that 12 play in the house, and walking into the kitchen, and while you up in there, walking into, the bathroom, and you up in there, you mad because she done said something to you, and you up in there crying with your oil on your chest and stuff like that. Her fantasy is playing that song, walking into the bathroom. I got to reveal the heart of a broken woman because I was her. Walking into that bathroom and clawing at your back. Her fantasy is going up in there and turning you around and showing you that she loves you. That's her fantasy. Listen, all that sounds good because it's bewitching in the moment. It feels good in the moment, but it does not build a long-lasting, stable relationship. It does not, because relationships are built on information. Relationships are maintained by information. The thing about it is, we destroy relationships because of the words, because of the things that we release into the relationship. So you got a traumatized, beautiful, seductive woman who does not have much substance, who thinks that in order to hold on to you, or if she has substance, she's been taught that her beauty and her booty is more valuable than her substance. So she uses the outside, to captivate you. Her fantasies are all about seducing you. Her fantasies are all about that. And it sounds good in the beginning when a relationship is new, but try being in that relationship for a long time. That stuff wears out. It's no longer sexy for her to come walking in the bathroom clawing at you. But you scratch my back. That stuff hurts. Stop doing that. It's no longer sexy when she picks up a little weight, or she's had a child and she got stretch marks. It's no longer sexy. R. Kelly no longer entices you, or Peebo Bryson no longer entices you after you've heard it 150 times. Those things are no longer enticing to you. And when you're dealing with a broken, rejected, and abused woman, the only thing she's going to do is she's going to start wanting that moment again. If she ain't getting it from you, she's going to get it from somewhere else. She ain't getting it from you, she's going to get it from somewhere else. So again, guys, I know we kind of went off, but let's go back. A lot of men and women who've raped or sodomized children were considered to be attractive and could date almost anyone they want. Again, this is all about power. Please understand that they aren't so much attracted to children as they are attracted to power. Children afford them the opportunity to exercise two types of power: power in the moment and long-term power. Having long-term power over that child. Having long-term power. They like being able to pass you in the community and give you a look, and nobody else know what happened. They like to be able to do those type of things, but they love power in the moment. That's the power they have in a moment when they're raping and taking advantage of the child. That's the power in the moment when they're cornering the child. That's the power in the moment they have when that child is scared. That's the power in the moment. And let's go ahead and state the obvious, because I haven't watched the R. Kelly thing. I think I've gotten 20 minutes in, and that's about it. But let me go ahead and state the obvious, because I know some people are going to say, well, these were young women, and the young women freely gave themselves away. Let me tell you something about a young woman. She's easily influenced. If she has a crush on a guy, and especially if that man has any level of power, if he's older, he automatically comes in with a level of power. She follows his lead in a lot of cases. She will follow his lead. And even though she may not necessarily like what's happening to her, and she may not have planned that to happen, she will allow it to happen. This is the reason why on most jobs, for example, I worked at Walmart, the managers were not allowed to date the employees because the managers had a level of power. See, it wasn't so much about becoming familiar. That was a big thing too. But the managers had power, and because it was easy for them to take advantage of women who wouldn't necessarily give them a second eye, because they had a level of power. And I remember I worked there from the time I was 17 to the time I was 24 years old. And one of the things I remember when I was working there was that a lot of the guys who came into management weren't necessarily handsome men. And because they came into a position of power, all of a sudden, some of the women who worked there found themselves attracted to them, romantically attracted to them, or sexually attracted to them, because there's something about power that turns a woman on. There is something about power, and I think this has to do with the way that we are are created. We like power, and oftentimes if we don't understand there's a difference between good power versus bad power, we just see all power the same. We are attracted by power. That's why we were attracted to the rebel. The rebel represented power. Even though he uses power in the wrong direction, he was bold. We saw confidence in him. As women, we are attracted to power. We like powerful men. In the biblical days, they love powerful men. Even to this day, we like powerful men. I found that there's a duck called the Muscovy duck, and I think I've shared this with you guys before. But there's a duck called the Muscovy duck, and the female duck, and a lot of animals, as a matter of fact, they have a survival mechanism, and I believe that this is inbred into every form of living. But they have a survival mechanism where the female Muscovy ducks will not breed with the weak males, and so if the weak males oftentimes would get into fights and lose the fights and all this other stuff. So the women wouldn't so much as breed with the weak males. In order for the weak males to copulate, in order for them to basically, have children, they would have to catch a female who was not guarded by a male. They would have to catch a female who wasn't guarded by a male, because during breeding season, the females will often have a male Muscovy duck who stayed in, and the same thing for mallard ducks and a lot of ducks. During mating season, ducks tend to stick together. After mating season, they go their own way, but they're very monogamous during mating season. They're very monogamous during mating season, so they'll pick a partner or what have you. And so the Muscovy, if the female didn't have somebody that she was paired with, and a male Muscovy caught her during mating season and she wasn't paired with anybody, he would go and attempt to rape her. He would attempt to rape her, what have you. That was his way of trying to reproduce himself. He would go and attack her because she didn't have a covering. He would go and attack her because she didn't have a male. She didn't have, when I say covering, I'm not talking about a man. When I'm saying that for us to understand the need for a father or a father figure, the need for us to have Christ in our life, that's what I'm talking about. But she didn't have a male to guard her, and he would go and he would attempt to rape her. But she had, somehow they said their bodies had evolved, where the female Muscovy duck, oftentimes she had a way to twist her vagina where he could not fully penetrate her. She had a way to twist her vagina to keep him from copulating, from reproducing with her. She had a way of twisting her vagina or what have you. But I used to see that because I walked every day when I lived in Florida. I used to see them attacking the females a whole lot. If they weren't guarded, you would see them. You feel bad for the female because she's trying her best to get away, and he's being all aggressive and stuff. But that was his way of survival. And this is the thing with the human race. We are similar. As human beings, we have a tendency to be attracted to strength, and we're attracted to power or our perception of power. If we've never seen good power, we're going to be attracted to bad power because it's power nonetheless. But we have a tendency to be attracted to what we consider to be strong, and oftentimes we try to avoid what we consider to be weak. And so in some communities, for example, the good guy is seen as weak because he doesn't fight, he's pursuing his education. He's not seen as a viable candidate. And so what happens with him is he's oftentimes rejected by the women in the community. He's made fun of, he's bullied by the guys or what have you, and the women go and they have babies with the thugs. They go and have babies with the ones who got a 5 to 10 year sentence, somebody who got a teardrop tattooed to their face. The women are chasing up behind those type of guys because they're attracted to power. And these guys represent power. Even though it's perverted power, it's power nonetheless. The women go and get with that particular guy. It isn't until the nerd gets older and the woman gets more mature and she has a different perception of power. See, when you sit in the house with that thug and he can't help you pay no bills, then you realize he ain't got no actual power. I don't need you to go fight. Now, it was cute when you had them hands out there and you can go and knock a couple of folks out. But I don't need that right now. We got kids in this house that need to be fed. I need some actual power. The power in the form of you going and paying these bills. Power in the form of you going out here and getting a job. Power in the form of you being consistent and keeping a job. And that's when she starts to realize there's a different type of power that I've rejected. And all too often I've heard guys say this to me. They said, Tiffany, I was the one when I was younger and I was going to school and I was this and no girl gave me any attention. Now that I got my PhD, now I got this, now I got that. every female, these same women, now they got 3 and 4 kids, and now they're trying to give me some attention. And that's because their perspective of power has changed, and they realized that he had the actual power. He had the power that was going to really be long standing. And so now they're looking at him, but of course he's not looking back. So again, let's go ahead and move on. When sexual perversion becomes normal in a family or a community, it stops hiding and begins to express itself. Let's think of King David and his children. You can see this is a generational curse in King David's family. King David had many wives, 8 of which who were mentioned in the Bible. David took Bathsheba for himself and had her husband Uriah killed. And the reason was because he saw her bathing on the roof. He saw her bathing on the roof of her home, and he got turned on and summoned for her, and then slept with her and got her pregnant or what have you. This was all perversion. And we see this moving throughout David's bloodline. David's son Absalom raped his sister Tamar. If you don't know the story, Amnon. I don't know why I wrote down Absalom, but it's Amnon. David's son Amnon raped his sister Tamar. And if you don't know the story, what he did was he pretended to be sick. He got some bad advice from a friend, and he pretended to be sick. And then when his dad to send his sister into the room, and from there he proceeded to rape his sister. This is something that was in David's bloodline. This was a generational curse in his bloodline. Many of you have dealt with rape, have dealt with molestation, have dealt with some things because it's in your blood. And then next, David's son King Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. And of course he turned on the Lord because he had some women. He had wives who were not believers. He had unbelieving wives, and they started to turn his heart away from God. So we see this is something that moved throughout David's bloodline. It was a generational curse in David's bloodline. So even though wisdom was in his bloodline, it was countered by perversion. This is what happens. I found that some of the smartest people, some of the people who have the greatest potential, Satan has countered them with perversion. Now let's go ahead and think about R. Kelly. R. Kelly is talented, multi-talented, but the enemy has countered and sabotaged his life with perversion. And the Bible says that pride goes before destruction and a haughty look before a fall. And the thing about it is, R. Kelly was able to rest and relax and get on his platform and have fun for a long time. But it was only a matter of time before the enemy snatched that from under him. Because Satan never has the plan to make you great and keep you great. His plan is always to turn around and snatch the wool from over your eyes. His plan is always to turn around, kill, steal, and destroy you. And so what we see happening with this whole R. Kelly thing is this is something, again, that has been happening in our communities for a long time. It's been happening for a long time, not just in American communities. It's been happening in Africa. It's been happening in India. It's been happening in Asia. It's been happening all around the world. It's been happening in Europe. This is something that has been happening in our communities for a long time. Again, I always say it is a dangerous thing for a person to be born with a vagina, because the reality of it is once you have a little girl, that little girl needs more than you telling her what to do. That little girl needs absolute protection. She needs absolute protection, because there's something about a female, and of course we see they're raping little boys now, but there's something about being a female that brings out the worst. And if the guy's got a predatory nature, that brings out the worst in him. It brings out the worst in him. The thought of being her first, the thought of having a piece of her or sharing himself with her can be overwhelming. It can turn a person on. And so what we see happening right now is something that actually has been happening in our communities. And again, this is going to be more of a discussion. I'm going to open up the floor for questions in a minute, but this is something that has been happening in our communities for a long time, and it started in our families. Most of what happens to us it doesn't happen externally. It always starts in a family, and then it spreads itself out. It starts to express itself all the more. In small communities, it's expressed itself so much that it has become normal. On television, they have a tendency to make fun of the South, make fun of places like Mississippi, Arkansas, and Kentucky, talking about incest and stuff like that. They'll crack little jokes and stuff because it is true. Those things became normal in places like that, especially where you see a lot of poor people. These type of things became normal, where young women were raped and molested, and women get to the point where they lose the value of their own body, where they look at their body in the mirror and the body means nothing to them. See, your body's supposed to be so sacred to you that you don't want nobody to touch it. Your body, you think about a virgin. When somebody, if a virgin who has a 2-parent household, and her dad has really instilled in her and talked to her and not allowed her to listen to music that degrades her, and just sat up there and encouraged her, she values her virginity. That's her, that she values the mess out of her virginity. She loves the fact that she's a virgin. She values that. But if you take a young woman and you pull her father away from her, her daddy walks out of her life, right then and there, daddy doesn't want to be with me. What can I do to get some man? Because then men become like a celebrity. Anything that's distant has the power to become a celebrity or a celebrated thing, something that is desired. Anything that is distant, that is the reason why a lot of us have looked at riches and said, oh, how I would love to have that. And then you get the riches in your hand and you realize that they don't satisfy that need on your inside of you. So you pull the father away, and now she's looking for a father. So she finds out some guy says, hey, you want me? Okay, take off your clothes. And so she gives herself away. Or the music. A lot of people, especially in the 21st century, don't realize the power of music. Letting people listen to R. Kelly. You don't know the power of music. You have no idea what that music does. Music are words. Remember, the Bible said words are spirit. The Bible also said, guard your heart, for out of it pours the issues of life. I am so tired of arguing with Christians. I've gotten to the point where I don't even argue with Christians about the music they listen to. People who sit back and say, well, I don't see nothing wrong with it. Shoot, I'm saying, I be listening to this in my car. And that's the reason why you rolling your hands like that, because all that stuff got up in you. All that stuff is in you now. And so that you don't realize that what you take in determines what comes into your life and what goes out of your life. What you allow in here, it determines whether or not you'll be wealthy, whether or not you'll be happily married for the rest of your life, whether or not you will have healthy, functional children who become functioning members of society, or whether or not your children are criminals and you end up being constantly divorced, humped all over the place, got a court case and stuff like that. What you take in does determine the type of people you hang around. It determines everything about your life. So if I'm sitting here and I'm listening to gospel music, and then I'm listening to some stuff telling me to twerk and pop your butt, I'm listening to two conflicting things, two conflicting messages. I'm listening to two things that conflict, which causes a storm, which causes warfare to internalize on the inside of me, because I got two messages that come that are warring against each other. Now, wow, I may exalt the word of God over this other message. Let me get hurt. See, this is why the devil like to get stuff in you. Let me get hurt. Let me get hurt. If I'm sitting here and I'm exalting the word, hallelujah, we magnify his name. We glorify his holy name. Faithful is he. He's merciful. He's wonderful. Let me get hurt. Let me get hurt. Every other message that's on the inside of me is going to manifest. And when Satan comes and brings pain into your life, it's only because he's pulling on a baby that he put on the inside of you. He's saying it's time to give birth, baby girl. It's time for you to give birth to that thing. It's time. You were listening to R. Kelly. You were listening to Lil Wayne. You were listening to all this music that told you that you were a whore and that you were worth. The only thing you were worth is an orgasm. How dare you eat? As an African American, I don't understand why we keep promoting people who tell us that we're nothing but sexual objects. We promote them because they're African American. We promote them because they got black skin. And we keep on trying to put somebody at the top, but we're putting the wrong people at the top. We're putting the wrong people. We're putting people at the top who tell us that you are nothing but a whore. You are nothing. You're nothing but an orgasm. You're worth nothing but the butt on your back. That's it. But you ain't worth me putting a ring on your finger. You ain't worth me sticking around. I'll give you some kids and walk out your life, but you ain't worth it. We are sitting there and we're looking at this type of stuff, and we're celebrating. We're going to the concerts. We're paying for the CDs. We're going up there and we fainting at the concert. Ah! we doing all this stuff, but then we got the nerves to get mad when we find out that they're raping our babies. He was raping your babies with the music. He was raping your babies with the music. Half of these children born, probably in the 90s, were born because of R. Kelly's music, especially in the poor community. It was born. They were born because of R. Kelly. They were born because of they're born fatherless because of R. Kelly, because he sit up there talking about 12 play, and we listening to that kind of stuff. We listening to that. Let him tell us that we're nothing but a whore. Let them tell us that we're not worth anything. The only value that we have is when our clothes fall off of our backs, and the man is sitting there staring at you, and we feel valuable in that moment. We feel valuable in that moment. Why? Because we have not yet learned our value. We haven't learned our value. We feel valuable in that moment. We feel wanted in that moment. We feel satisfied in that moment. We feel happy in that moment. We feel accepted in that moment. We feel some type of way in that moment. And we allow ourselves to be ravished and taken advantage of time and time again, hoping to relive that moment, hoping that that moment will become a life thing for us. 3-4 kids later, 3-4 baby daddies later, come to realize all we doing is turning people on, and then we turn them on, and then we appease it, and we turn them back off, then we let them go home. We let them go home. This is something that has been normal in our community for a long time. I mean, let's just talk about it. It's something that we haven't discussed, and victims can't come out and say. I mean, I haven't seen the reports yet, but from what I've heard, I'm not surprised when they say people are coming out and attacking the victims. They always do. They always do. When they came out with the stuff about what's his name? Bill Cosby. How could I forget his name? They're gonna attack. The greater the man, if you come out and talk, people are gonna attack you. They're gonna attack you. And that's the fear that most victims live in, is knowing that they're gonna be attacked the minute they get on a platform. Having to be victimized and raped all over again, this time by public opinion. This time having to deal with the negative looks and the mumbles and the stares and the laughter, and not having any money to shield yourself from it. Because if you're poor, you don't got no money to shield yourself from that stuff. If you're rich, you can go and take a vacation to Cancun and get away from all of the public opinion and all of the stares and all this other stuff, and you can go let it die down while you are chilling on the beaches of Cancun. But if you're poor, you don't have anywhere to go. So you wonder why people are not saying anything for a long time. They don't say anything because they're worried about you. They don't say anything because they know you're going to rape them. They know you're going to tear them to pieces. They know you're going to talk about them. They know that you're going to come out and criticize them. They know. So they keep quiet. They keep quiet. And the victim goes on to continue being a victim. This is the reason why I say I'm not a victim of the things that happen to me. I'm a victor. I was a victim, but I'm a victor. I overcame it by the blood of the Lamb and the word of my testimony, because the thing about it is, I got free from that stuff because I was willing to say, God, this is what happened to me. I got free from that stuff. And let me tell you what freedom looks like. I'm not afraid to be alone with a man. I don't get around men and think they're sexual predators. I don't think like that. When I get around guys, I still think like a virgin thinks. Oh, you're cool. You did. But I also have wisdom. If I see perversion, I know to back all the way off. I know what perversion looks like in the eyes of a guy because I dealt with that a lot as a child. It was in my family. It was in my blood. It was in my blood. And the music that we listen to and the media that we're looking at has taught us that we're nothing but sex. That's all we're worthy. We're worthy of. And I'm so sad to say that we have bought into this image. We bought into it so much that society gets upset when we say, hey, no more. No more. This is what happened to me. Society gets upset when people open their mouths and say, I can't live with this anymore. Society gets upset with us because society has bitten into the same lie you've bitten into. They've bitten into the lie or the belief that you're only worthy of what you allow to happen to you. So if R. Kelly's victims were 14 years old having sex with him, It's because they were whores. That's what society teaches. It's a lie. A 14-year-old girl and a 15-year-old girl is easily influenced. How do I know? Because I was a 14 and 15-year-old girl. She's easily influenced. If there's an older guy who really said, and she got a crush on him, she's easily influenced by him. She's easily influenced by him. If he comes and he says, hey, pretty girl, go in the kitchen and give me a beer. 2. All right. She'll go in there and get the beer. If he says, hey, pretty girl, run to the store for me, she'll go run to the store. Whatever he says, she'll go and do, because she's easily influenced. She doesn't have enough information yet. She doesn't have enough education yet to understand that she's standing face to face with a predator who's taking advantage of her. She doesn't have enough to, and you have a predator who, if Walmart can say the managers can't date the employees because they understand the power that the manager has over the employee, can you imagine what an older man who has a platform such as R. Kelly, what he has over a younger girl? And Walmart is trying to protect older women. Walmart's trying to protect 30 and 40 something year old women. Can you imagine the power that he has? You know, a man on such a great platform has over a 16 or 15-year-old. That girl doesn't know anything about herself yet. She doesn't know her identity, and you're offering her. And this is a time where peer pressure is the greatest. This is a time where her identity is under question, and she's so busy trying to find herself. This is a very pivotal time in her life. Do you understand that in that moment, she's just looking for herself? And if R. Kelly is offering her an opportunity to be a great singer, she believes him. You offer me an opportunity that the people in my school don't have. I remember when I was a teenager, one of my greatest fantasies, when I was in elementary or in junior high, one of my biggest fantasies was pulling up in front of the school in a limousine. Because that's how I thought. Because I was so bound by public opinion at that time. You know, everybody wanted to be the one that pulled up, and you know, I used to fantasize about my hair in a ponytail to the side because that was in style. I wanted a nice long ponytail to the side, my little cute little mini skirt and stuff, and get out of a limousine. That was my fantasy because I was bound by public opinion at that time. Eventually, I died out of it. I grew out of it. Eventually, I grew out, because to grow out of something means to die out of it. Eventually, I grew out of it. I matured out of it, and so I no longer think like that. But that was a fantasy because I was young. I was influential, easily influenced. And it's during that time that I needed the protection of my parents. I needed somebody to cover me and say, no. It was during that time where I needed it the most. And I thank God, you know, even though my parents didn't know, they didn't know what to do and a lot of things, I thank God that my dad was around he stopped a lot of things from happening to me that could have happened to me. Now, while I did endure a lot, I did go through a lot as a young woman, he stopped a lot of things from happening to me that could have happened to me by telling me no. He stopped me when I was 8 years old from being molested by a 25-year-old man. He stopped it because this 25-year-old man used to call me his girlfriend all the time and invite me over, and I was friends with the 25-year-old guy's niece. Even though she was older than me, they lived across the street from me, and I told you guys I used to come outside and dance and try to get his attention. He reminded me of two people that I had a crush on, Prince and Michael Jackson. He used to wear this Michael Jackson jacket, or sometimes he would dress like Prince. He had this guitar, what do you call it? But anyhow, he was not a guitar. What do you call it? Anyhow, the same thing that Prince has, because he doesn't have a guitar. He has a he come to me, but he had that, and he would play that so skillfully. He had his hair like Prince. He had he had so many things going on. So I used to look up to this man, and I used to have the biggest little crush on him. 8 years old, watching Prince on television, watching his music. Then I see Apollonia. Oh, so this the type of girl that he want. She coming on stage wearing lingerie, dancing. So I learned to dance like her. So I used to go over to my friend's house all the time. But my dad didn't like that way that man looked at me. My dad he picked it up My dad didn't like me being around that guy. He picked up the fact that I kept trying to go over there. And my dad, he shut it down. He was like, no, that man like to do bad things to little girls. You're not going back over there. And I cried like a baby. And I told you guys, one day I went out and tried to dance like Apollonia in the driveway. My little tail could dance, but I went out there and danced. My dad happened to pull up at the house. I was really trying to get that guy's attention. My dad wore my behind out. Wore my behind, beat my behind. But that guy would have gotten me. Because I just didn't know any better. I was going and putting myself in a situation. I was 8 years old. He did kiss me. When I went over there one time, he did kiss me. But that's to say that there are sexual predators out there, and they've been out there for a long time. For some of you, as you're listening to me talk about things I've gone through, it's a surprise because that hasn't been your world. But for some of you, you're just like, I'm glad somebody talking about it because that's the stuff that happened to me. Because it's just the reality. A lot of people that I was surrounded by, they went through that stuff. So when we heard about R. Kelly and Aaliyah, we're just like, as bad as it is, oh well, it happens. When I was a young girl, I looked every bit of, when I was probably 13, I probably looked every bit of 9. And I had grown men pulling up on me. And they were putting up on me and my friend. And one of the things they used to love to say, they would say, look at you starting to develop a little bit or what have you. And they'll say, well, I wasn't developing at 9, but they'll say little things and they'll say, you know, you look like, I think you're a woman or something, but you look like she'll tell. She'll tell. Yes, she'll tell. And that was a test to test your pride. And if you sat back and said, I won't tell, they'll say, all right, get in the car, let's go. But what I used to do is I would say, I sure would. I tell everybody. I would scare them the heck off. I would scare them off. But it was something that was considered normal. A young girl in the ghetto is used to getting guys off of her, pushing guys away from her. She's used to that. Some of them have fallen victim to them. They get in the car. My little sister told me a guy had pulled up on her and her friend like that. Her friend was 12 years old. My sister was 12 or 13 at the time. And they were walking, and some guy pulled up on her and her friend like that and said that. And she said her friend fell for it and got into the guy's car and came back talking about how the man had took her to a field and had sex with her. These are the things that happen that we just don't talk about. We really don't talk about these things. And so now we had the Me Too movement last year. The stuff is just starting to come to the surface because there are a lot of hurt people coming up. And again, Satan's not going to let you stand on a platform for too long. Satan will get you out there and expose everything that you've done if you don't repent. Now, if you repent and say, hey, I did this, I jacked up, I messed up, I was sick, I was twisted, then yeah, he has no power over you. But if you get on a platform and you continue to do those things, then Satan, it's just a matter of time because he wants to, he wants to attack. And this is exactly what happened to Bill Cosby. This is exactly what happened to so many other people, what have you. Satan likes to get you into a position of power and what have you. So this is something, again, that is common. But this is one of the things I want to say before we go and we start our discussion. As an African American woman, one of the things that has really disgusted me, having survived being a victim of sexual abuse, is why do we continue to support people who degrade us? I have yet to understand that. Why do we continue to support people who promote us as nothing but orgasms? You know, you're only worthy as big as your butt. You're only worthy of an orgasm. Why do we continue to put these people on a pedestal? Why do we continue to go to their concert, play their music? Why? The reason why is because we've normalized sexual abuse, sexual trauma, molestation, rape. Homosexuality is slowly becoming normal. We've normalized so many different things when it comes to sex. For a lot of us, we don't know the value of our own bodies. We don't know the value of our own bodies. And here's one of the things that scientists have found is people oftentimes get delayed mentally at the point of trauma. So you can find a person, for example, who's 64 years old, and you can pretty much tell around what age she got traumatized based on the way she speaks and based on some of the things that she does. If you talk to her long enough, you'll be like, Somebody attacked you when you were 16. Now, she may think you prophesying, but you ain't. You were around 16, somewhere between 14 and 16. She's like, oh my God, how do you know? Because you still sound and act like a 16-year-old. You still make decisions like a 16-year-old. You're still attracted to young boys. That's the point of her trauma. That's when somebody raped her. That's when somebody molested her. How do you know? Because she got stuck at the point of her trauma. She got stuck at the point of her trauma. We keep funding people who, all our honesty, African American women, we allow ourselves to be portrayed as Jezebels, loud, ghetto, controlling, seductive, sexually frigid. We allow ourselves to be portrayed in such a negative way. And then we turn around and we don't say anything about it. If we can be honest with it, we don't talk about this kind of stuff because it's become normal to us. We allow ourselves to be portrayed in a negative way, and we allow our victimizers to continue to victimize us through their music. We allow our victimizers to continue to victimize us by using the fact that we're African American. They coming after a black man. As soon as somebody who's been victimizing us, rejecting us, or talking about us, or calling us bad names, somebody from the black community does that, as soon as they go under attack where the law is coming after them, they turn it into a race war. They just trying to take down another powerful black man, and we bite into it. We bite into it. We fall right into it because we don't want to be guilty of being traitors. We don't want to be guilty of it. So we suffer in silence because we were taught that. We suffer in silence because our parents taught us that if uncle do something to you, you tell us and we'll deal with uncle. But then when you go back to the living room the next day, uncle's sitting in the living room. And so they've had a conversation, and now he's just sitting there. He's scared to look at you. And now you uncomfortable and he uncomfortable. But seems like he over there a little bit more now. Why? Because he's trying to get his power back. He comes over there and he's trying to get his power back. He's trying to show you I'm still in control. He's trying to show you ain't nobody going to protect you. Ain't nobody going to provide for you. So what happens is we go out and we look for protectors. We look for the gangster because he got power. You see how that works? We look for the gangster. We look for the rebel because they have power. They have power. We look for them because they can protect us. That's how we see it. He can protect us. So I go out here and I get with, this guy, and we know he'll shank him. He'll shank a brother. We know that he's violent, and I get with him, and I feel good because I know if my uncle can't mess with me no more, because he got a record. He got a record. He'll pistol whip me and then shoot him. He got a record. He don't play that. A lot of times what we're doing is we're looking for protection. We're looking for the father. The definition of a father is a provider and a protector. And what a predator looks for is a woman without a covering, a woman who does not have a provider. Then he can come in and masquerade as a provider. A woman who does not have a protector, he can come in and masquerade as her protector. A woman who needs something or someone to nurture, then he can come in and pretend to be the wounded heart who's gotten broken many times by so many different women, and we can nurture him. He casts himself with many masks, and we take him in. Even as young women, we take him in and we nurture him, and we try to nurse him back to health, hoping that one day he'll wake up and grow up and look at us and say, that woman right there stood by my side. That woman right there loved me when nobody else loved me. That woman right there, I would fight. I would die for that woman right there. We keep on trying to nurture predators. We keep on trying to help them to get up, when in reality, we're only perpetuating a cycle that's been happening in our communities for a long time. Honestly, it's just been happening for a long time. It's become normal to us. And so when this type of thing becomes normal in a society, beware. Society is getting ready to begin to crumble. And this is why God raises up the revivalists to come and begin to revival. So what we see happening right now, I'm about to open up the floor for questions. What we see happening right now is that God is setting the stage for revival. God is setting the stage for the revivalists to come out and to speak. Because what God is doing is he's allowing people to come out and say, I've been hurt, I've been raped, I've been rejected, I've had these things happen, I've held this secret for 20 years, I've held this secret for 30 years. He's allowing people to come out. He's setting the stage for the revivalists. So I don't want you guys to think, hey gorgeous, I don't want you guys to think that this is a bad thing that's happening. God is setting the stage for the revivalists. So how to escape a sexual predator. We're going to go through this real quick, and then we're going to do a question and answers. We're going to start talking about it. How to escape a sexual predator. Number one, report them. Report them. Two, I'll tell you what I used to do. Because a lot of the guys in my family were predatory. When I was a young woman, I used to, and I've told you guys this before, I would go out of my window. Like, I remember going out of my window, like my bedroom window. Like if I had an uncle that was in the living room and I knew he was kind of predatory, whether he came for me or not. If one of my cousins would talk about him or something like that, I went out my window. Like if I knew he was there and I heard my mama like, all right, I'm gone. She went to work and my daddy went there. And I saw, I didn't hear my brother or my sister in the house or something like that. I went out the window. I didn't go through the front room or what have you. I didn't take the chance of passing them by. So make sure, again, you report the person. Two, don't try to find ways around them. You have to go ahead and confront them. You have to confront them. Sometimes when you're dealing with a sexual predator, the best thing to do is to confront them. But also, when you confront a sexual predator, it's always better to do it with, if it's in your family, with another family member by your side. That way they don't attack you. That way they don't, try to harm you. And make sure it is a male family member. Number two, keep a record of every word spoken. So if you happen to be a young person and somebody's constantly making comments, keep a record of that, dates and times and stuff like that. Avoid the person at all costs. And these are just a few pointers on how to escape a sexual predator. How to escape a sexual predator. And we'll talk about different things, but I just really want to open up the floor for you guys questions. Make sure you're getting the questions in really quick, guys, because I know we are up pretty late. But I want y'all to get y'all questions in. Yeah, perversion has been normalized. In our community, it's normal now. Let me see. What do we have to do to belong instead of knowing we already belong to him? I'm trying to go. How do you repel bitter, abusive, lustful guys that seem perfect and charming? I say through information. Let me read the question because you probably. How do you repel bitter, abusive, lustful guys that seem perfect and charming? Through getting information, surrounding yourself with the right people. If you come from, and I talked about this on the last recording, if you come from a perverted family or twisted family, your thoughts are like this, even though you may stand on the foundation of Christ. Now, the foundation you were on at one point was like this, and this represented the mindset, the world of words that you stood on. But once you come to Christ, you stand on a stable foundation, but your mind is still crooked. This is why God says to be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so, because of that, you'll still attract the same people and be attracted to the same people that you were attracted to when you were in the world. You'll attract the same people or be attracted to the same people that you were attracted to when you were in the world. And so the best thing to do is to change your mind. You do that by information. You get the word of God in you, you study, you go to school, you build your self-worth, surround yourself with the right people. And this has to be consistently. You have to do this consistently until your mind begins to form, to be reshaped or be renewed. And then what happens is, as your mind is renewed, it changes who's attracted to you. I remember when I was going through the process of having my mind renewed, and I think a lot of women who come out of seduction have to deal with this. When a woman comes out of seduction, when you're in seduction, you're so used to people looking at you. Even when you're wearing clothes and you're dressed, because you exude seduction. Everything about you exudes seduction. And so as you start being delivered from it, you don't get the attention anymore. When you're reading the word of God, it starts to break it off of you. You don't get the attention that you used to get anymore. And so for that reason, a lot of times, many of us who have had that, we went through phases of looking like, what's wrong with me? So we in the mirror like, Because normally when I go out, you know, if I sit up there and I'm like, hey, and I'm going to see this right here. The guy's going to turn his back. He's going to look. Hey. But I'm not getting that anymore. So as I'm walking, guys are passing me by. And when a lot of times when women go through that level of deliverance, they return to seduction because they don't like the way it feels to be ignored. They feel rejected. They feel unaccepted. And so for that very reason, they stop reading the word like they have been, and they start returning to the things, or returning to their vomit, because these were the times where they felt wanted, they felt enticing, they felt desired, and they feel hope in that mindset. They feel like, if I got 100 men looking at me, I know out of them 100, there's got to be one that's willing to marry me and be a decent husband. Not realizing that every last one of them is just thinking about what it'd be like to bed you. You got some who have long-term capability, some guys who will marry you and bed you for 5 years before running away. Then you have some guys who are one-night stands, but at the end of the day, all of them are not looking at you as a long-term, as a lifetime partner. Even if they're thinking lifetime, they don't have it in them. So the thing that you have to do is you go through each of those phases. You go through all the different transitional phases, and understand that as you're going through these phases, that you're going to start losing attention. There's going to be a time. I remember so many different transitions I've gone through. I remember, going through a time when the Lord started stripping me of, he stripped me of human hair. He was stripping me of so much stuff. And I remember looking in the mirror and feeling ugly, feeling like, how am I going to get a man now? Like, you really making me look like a dude, God. You really making me look some type of way. How am I going to get a guy? But God was stripping me of relying on the things that I once relied on. See, I used to rely on that long human hair and stuff like that, and the low cut shirts, and God was stripping me of all those things, and he was telling me to take that stuff off. So for a long time, I locked myself up in my house and didn't really want to come out. I didn't want to go to the store because my hair didn't look pretty, and it's like I wasn't wearing makeup, or I wasn't wearing that much makeup in that season. When I went places, I was wearing clothes that was either too big for me, or it was just something wrong with them. They weren't fashionable, they weren't pretty, and it was a season that I was going through, and I didn't understand that season, because the season I had come out of was a season where it was a size 4, size 5. I was coming out of a season where I had high confidence, pride, conceit. I was coming out of a season where I had a mindset that I could have whoever I wanted to have, despite where you were. I was coming out of that season where I can walk into a room, and I don't care how pretty you were as a woman. I don't care if there were 750 beautiful women in the room. I wasn't intimidated by a single woman, and my confidence was enough to attract guys. My confidence, and that's what my friends didn't understand when they used to try to figure out, why did she keep attracting? My confidence was attractive to guys. I could walk into a room and that little pride. And so when God stripped me of that, he stripped me of the personality. He stripped me of so many different things. He stripped me of that. And I felt naked in that season. In that season, I felt like, who am I? Because I was stripped of a personality. I was stripped of an identity that did not belong to me, one that I had picked up after my trauma. I was stripped of all those things. So I was walking around. All of a sudden, I was having to wear my own hair. All of a sudden, I wasn't wearing makeup, or I wasn't wearing that much makeup. I was stripped of an old identity, and God had me to keep looking in the mirror at a woman I hated until I learned to love her. And I didn't learn to love her by looking at her. I learned to love her through prayer and reading of the word. He stripped me of the old identity that got picked up through rape, molestation, rejection, abandonment, trauma. All of these different things came together to form or to help me to pick up all these personalities off of BET, MTV, reality TV. All these personalities I picked up, and I walked around and I created this personality, and she became who I thought I was. And I buried myself under her. I buried myself under her because who I was hurt, traumatized, rejected. Nobody wants her. Or so I thought. But this other personality, everybody wanted her. Everybody wanted the girl who walked up into the club who wasn't afraid to run to the dance floor. Everybody wanted the girl who could walk into a room full of beautiful women who exuded confidence. You know, everybody wanted that. And so God stripped me of that. So I say this to say that as he begins to strip you, because that's what he does, as he begins to strip you of those things, seduction, a need for power, he stripped me of the Jezebel spirit. Because one of the things I found is that there are a lot of guys out there who are attracted to that spirit. So I had such a confidence when I was in the club and all this other stuff, that I used to literally walk up to men. I would sit there with my friends, and I would spot a guy across the room, and I would think to myself, I'm gonna get him. And I would walk across the room and grab the man by his shirt, and I just pull him by his shirt. Didn't care if I ripped a button or nothing. I just pull him onto the dance floor. He stripped me of that. He stripped me. So I know now if I was to walk up and do that to a dude, I'd probably get punched. He stripped me of that. He stripped me of that false confidence. He stripped me of all of that. And I had to endure the season where I was invisible. I had to endure the season where nobody looked at me. I mean, nobody. Zero. I don't care where I went. Absolutely nobody. And there was a temptation in that season to return to what I knew. It was a temptation in that season to go back to being that confident Vigo, to being her. It was a temptation in that season to return to my vomit. But I had to resist that temptation and become unwanted in order to become wanted, if that makes sense. So allow God to continue to strip you of the old personality and the lust. Let him just get the word of God in you, and it's going to change you from the inside out. And as it begins to change you, and this is how I know when people have the word in them, you know, how much of the word a person has in them. It's because when somebody is really truly filled with the word of God, it begins to exude even through their character. And when I see a woman, I don't care if she's Christian, and she's like biting her lip and talking to guys, and she's giving them eye contact real heavy, but she's talking to women and she's just like, or she's ignoring women, but every time she get around a guy, I know she ain't got that much word in her. She's still relying on her flesh. And that female, I'm going to tell you something. That woman will attract a lot of men to her. A lot of men who are led by their flesh. She will attract a lot of men to her. And the crazy thing about a woman like that is that she will also cast herself as a victim. She always feels like she's a victim of her beauty. She's a victim. It's just like, oh, these men keep coming after me and I don't know what to do. And I don't like you. I don't want you. And I've seen cases where women will get around men and flirt with them like crazy. And then when the man bites the hook, they'll holler, oh my God, I can't believe he came for me. And they'll cast themselves as the victim. It's because lust. They're having to get delivered from so many different things. So as women, one of the things that has to happen with us is there's so many layers of stuff that we have to get delivered from. So use that as a measuring stick. Whenever you go out, pay attention to whose attention you get and what type of attention you get. If you go out and men are still catcalling you, just say, okay, Lord, all right, I'm going to go home and get some more deliverance. I'm going to go home. I'm going to get this word in me. I'm going to get this stuff up out of me. I don't want this anymore, Lord. If you go out and, you know, you can let it can help you to understand that maybe I'm wearing the wrong kind of clothes. When you finally walk out that door, even as beautiful as you are, and when you walk out that door and you're not getting as much attention, that means you're going through a process called hiding. God hides his daughters. And so when he hides his daughters, the temptation for us is to come out of hiding because we're not accustomed to not getting any attention. We're not accustomed to it. I know, because that was a hard transition for me. It was such a hard transition for me because I was rejected. So for me, I felt wanted and accepted, desired, and I felt like I had a sure future when I walked around with seduction. But when God stripped me of that, it was like, okay, who am I? What am I supposed to do from here? So allow God to hide you. What I didn't realize at the time was he was beginning a process called hiding, and he has hidden me. And what that means is when you're hidden, and some of you have experienced it, when you're hidden, you don't get the attention. You really don't. You're not going to get that much attention when you're hidden. You're not going to get that much attention when you're hidden. I hate to tell y'all, you don't get that much attention. I don't care how pretty you are. You don't get that much attention when you're hidden. Women who get attention are women who are led by the flesh and who basically put their flesh on display for other people to see. Women who are led by the flesh. See, because if I was to sit back and I was to wear a low-cut short shirt and I was to come out and I would get a lot of attention. Because then I'm being led by the flesh. So some guy would be like, I love me a voluptuous, good guy, girl. Oh, but he's led by the flesh. God hid me, and then he taught me to hide myself. He said, you don't need to do all that. So take your time and let the word of God purge you. And at the same time, don't give guys your phone number. When you're in a season, women of God, recognize when you're in a season. There's a season of the victim and there's a season of the victor. If you're still in the victim season, don't get in a relationship because you're only going to attract predators. If you're still in a season where you're dealing with certain things, lust or something like that, you're only going to attract predators. Don't get in a relationship during that season. Don't get in a relationship during that season. Wait until you walk into the season of the victor. When you, hey, I know my worth and I'm not about to date no guy. I'm not about to have sex with you just to keep you around. I'm supposed to sleep with you? No, I don't want you like that. I'm sorry. I love the Lord and I want him to be pleased with me. That's it. That's it. So if you don't like it, hey, you know how to lose my number. If you don't know how to, I can send you a tutorial. But get into that season where you become comfortable, when you become a victor. You've overcome everything. You've forgiven everybody. You've released everybody from your past. You know what the word of God says. You have the wisdom to remain abstinent. It's not the will to remain abstinent, but the wisdom and the will to remain abstinent. You get into that season and exercise that wisdom. And that's when you start courting. Hopefully that helped. How do I take advantage of your counseling sessions? Go to TiffanyBuckner.com. TiffanyBuckner.com. I have the coaching on there. Just go to the coaching. Let me see. Right. When you go, when God starts to deliver you those looks and catcalls turn you off, it's annoying. It's absolutely annoying. Thank you. I didn't have an issue with seduction, but I was so used to the attention and had become addicted to it. Yes, everything. Yeah, and I'm going to tell you something about seduction. Beware, because here's the thing. Seduction is not always sexual seduction. Some women seduce men with their words. The Bible talks about it. Some women seduce men with their eyes. I've seen women seduce. For me, I wanted to be a psychologist when I was younger. And for me, I like to stand and look and see. Like, you can't, you know how, what do you call those guys? Why am I drawing these blanks today? But these guys like to come up and do these documentaries, and they like to go to the Serengetis of Africa or what have you, to go to the Serengeti, and they like to film from a distance. They like to watch the lion and the hunt, and they take their time for hours on end, and they watch the lion hunt the gazelle or the zebra or the giraffe or what have you. They like to study. That's me. I like to kind of, on the internet or what have you, I like to just kind of watch. And for me, I've learned so much and it reminds me of so much. So I see seduction a lot of times happening in many different ways. Seduction, there's sexual seduction. And that's usually the woman who feels the lowest about herself, or she has the highest confidence but the lowest self-esteem. Which makes no sense, but that's the reality. She has the highest confidence in her flesh, but the lowest self-esteem in her person. So she doesn't really value who she is. She doesn't feel like she has enough substance. And so she'll strip off her clothes. Then there's the woman who's smart. And she has enough substance but she doesn't have enough self-esteem. She doesn't have enough information about herself, her history, her identity, her future. She doesn't have enough information about God. And so her seduction is not necessarily going to be her taking off her clothes. Her seduction oftentimes is found in her words, and then sometimes her seduction is found in her eyes. And so for me, when I'm studying women, when I'm looking at women, I see seduction oftentimes in women. I see it hiding out in the eyes, in the lips, in the breast. Where else? In the thighs, in the butt, in the tongue, in the words. The things that she says. Now, there's a difference between seduction of the lips and seduction of the tongue. Seduction in the lips It's usually when a woman tries to highlight her lips, and when she's talking, she moves her lips a certain way. I've looked on Facebook Live and seen even, I'm not going to say it, I've seen women teaching Facebook Lives, and I see them. Okay, people of God, we're going to turn to Ephesians chapter, and I'm just like, seduction, come out of that woman's lips in the name of Jesus. Come out of there, out in the name of Jesus Christ. But seduction is in her lips. I've seen seduction in the eyes of women. When a woman is seducing a man, you can see, it's like you're standing from a distance, and you can almost kind of capture the moment when she's looking. When she's looking at him. When he goes across the room, or what she does is she makes him feel like you're the only person in the room. Women, we have a power that we have to get delivered from. We have a power that we have to get delivered from. We can take a guy and make him feel like he's the only man in the room, or the only man in the world, even when we're in a room of 500 or 5,000 people. So you'll see a woman and she knows how to look at him. She knows her power. So seduction can hide out in many things. It can be in words. Seduction is not always sexual. Sometimes a woman can seduce you by being a victim. You know, she plays the victim in distress. You know, this happened to me and that happened to me, and she taps into the different levels of a man. One of the levels of a man is that as a husband, one of the husband levels is the protector. So if she finds or she senses the protector in him, if the protector is strong, she will tap into the protector. And she'll say, yeah, I got a boyfriend, but I don't know how to say this, but okay, so let me ask you a question. He said that because we haven't had sex, that he doesn't know if our relationship should go, or what have you. She's tapping into the protector. Either she'll pretend to be a victim of you know, getting beat up in an abusive relationship, or being taken advantage of in some type of way. She's tapping into his protector. That's the spirit of seduction. She's tapping into his protector. And so his protective side, she looks like a damsel in distress. It is normal and natural for a man to want to save the damsel in distress. No, man, you know what I'm saying? No, I'm going to tell you, that man trying to take advantage of you. He trying to take advantage of you. Now, if I take his advice, y'all listen, if I take his advice and if I'm telling him that, and I take his advice, he now values me. Now he feels the need to protect me because I took something from him. I took his advice and I took it in. I said, really? Really? See, when I was in the world, I knew how to play people. Really? Yeah, he trying to take, no, I don't want you talking to him no more. Now, you hear me, Tiffany? I don't want you talking to him no more. Okay. Because I been bust a cap in him. She's playing with the protector on the inside of him. She's playing with the protector. Then there's a seductress who plays with the provider. She'll play with the provider in a man. Now, you'll have a man who's not a good provider normally. But this woman here can make him feel needed. Every man has something in him that he needs to feel needed. She plays with the provider on the inside of him. It's simple. Go and say she has a need. Play the damsel in distress. And just say, my light bill is due. And I don't know, how much is your light bill? $75. Now he know good and well that normally he won't give money to his mama, he don't give money to nobody, but for that moment he gives her that $75. He feels like a provider. He feels like you know, and it makes him value her all the more. It makes him want her all the more, and from there she has entrapped him. It's not always sex. A seductress likes to bring you in. She likes to create a soul tie with you. She likes to lock you in. And from that point, he feels obligated to her. He feels like, I need to provide for you. I need to protect you. I need to be your big brother. I need to be your lover. I need to be all of these things. Because if she goes from relationship to relationship, at some point he feels like, man, just get in a relationship with me. Because these men, I'm just tired of hearing about you going through stuff. I'm tired of hearing about, and I think you're a wonderful woman. You're a beautiful woman. And Yeah. And so he feels like she'll make a really good woman to him, not realizing he's being manipulated. And so I just say that to say, and this is to my sisters in Christ, we all had to get delivered from a lot of things, but one of the things we oftentimes have to get delivered from is seduction. Because we were taught as children, as little girls, that we could sit on our uncle's lap and ask for a quarter. Uncle. We learn to be manipulative and seductive. We learn, and as a child, you're not looking for sex. You're not trying to turn uncle on. You don't know nothing about sex, but you're trying to get something out of him. And what you're doing is learning to churn. And that's seduction. And so that's the thing that we have to get delivered from. So again, seduction is not always sexual. It's not always backed by sexual intent. Sometimes seduction is just you trying to get something using your words, using your eyes. Again, we'll go back into it. I'll get to your question in a minute, sister. But seduction often hides in the eyes, in the lips, in the tongue, in the thighs, in the butt, in the breast. It often hides in different ways. Women oftentimes have seduction in their fingertips. If a woman can seduce you with her words, she can seduce you with her words, she can seduce you with her touch. So this is the way it works with a seductress. A seductress, and a brother in Christ, I was like, you're going to have to write another book on this. But this is the way that it works with a seductress. A seductress can lightly touch a guy. That right there sends chills down his spine. That right there makes him get goosebumps. She could just slightly touch a guy. That's all. She could go up there and say, boy, move, skin to skin. Boy, move. Stop. And that does something to him. That's the way seductresses get people. So you want to make sure that you're not dealing with seduction on any level. I think most women had to get delivered from seduction. A lot of times we always look at it as sexual seduction, but it's not always sexual. It's not always backed by sexual intent. Sometimes it's just us trying to charm or flatter somebody to get what we want out of them. Next question. Is it right to tell a God-fearing man that you have a crush on him? Nope. Nope. The Bible said, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. One of the things that you will learn about a man is that God has put a hunter in him. And a lot of times as a female, I know I've been around guys and I can kind of sense, like, okay, he like me. I think he like me or what have you. He got a crush or what have you. I see, some of the things that he does. But he lacks the boldness to say anything. He doesn't say anything because he's afraid of rejection. He's afraid that, you're going to say something to him. And so a lot of times as females, we'll start feeling like, well, let me let him know that I like him too, so we can go ahead and get this ball rolling. Well, the thing about it is, he has to find his way out of fear and out of lack of confidence, out of rejection and fear of rejection before he can make a worthy husband. So the thing is, you don't want to go out here and throw yourself at him and just roll out the red carpet and say, dude, here. Because that starts the culture and the nature of your relationship. It sets the tone for what your relationship is going to be like with him. So you have to allow him to hunt. You have to allow him to pursue. Allow him to be the man. Allow him to be the lead or the head. If he never comes out and pursues you, then it means that he just wasn't the one. And you have to be okay with that. Because I think a lot of times we think that every time we come across somebody who's Christian, who's godly, we oftentimes think that we're supposed to be in a relationship with them, or that they're worthy. And the thing about it is, the church is a hospital. You're gonna find all types of sick people in the church. You're gonna find healed people, you're gonna find sick people, you're gonna find twisted people who are pretty much spiritually almost on their deathbed. So you don't want to assume that just because somebody's speaking in tongues and dancing in church that they're right. And that's one of the things we have to get delivered from, is that mindset. So just wait it out and let God, move in due season. If he's the right one, he'll approach you. If not, if he's led by fear, like one of the things I won't do, if I'm dealing with a guy and I don't care if he's sitting next to me and he's just like, I'm not gonna say nothing to him. I'll crack jokes, I'll play, I'll do everything else, but I'm not gonna say anything to him because he got to man up. He got to grow up. Let's see. Is it okay for a father to sleep with his 9-year-old daughter and his 9-year-old daughter's bed on the couch with her, or in her bed with a healthy age to stop sleeping with a daughter? For a father, that's kind of a hard one. Because I don't know the history of the father. I don't know what's going on. But it's not healthy for that to be a continual thing. I do understand from time to time, maybe the daughter may feel scared or she may actually sleep in the bed. But for the dad to abandon his wife and go into the daughter's bedroom, no, that is not healthy. That is actually twisted. For him to get out of his wife's bed, get out of the bed he shares with his wife to go climb into his daughter's bed, that is twisted. And so if anything like that is happening, then you really want to sit down and talk to the daughter. Hopefully nothing has been happening, but that is a twisted, that's twisted. Yeah. And so I'll say the healthy age, when you usually stop allowing children to sleep in the bed with you, most of the time is around 2 or 3, and you start really putting them in their own bed and forcing them to stay in their own bed. But if he keeps insisting, yeah, you definitely want to pray about it and then look into it. Not to say, because I don't want to put a seed in there, but definitely pray about it and look into it, because that's not normal. A topic that is often skipped over is spousal sexual abuse, but some Christians don't believe in it because they say in the Bible your body doesn't belong to you anymore. What is your take on this? Okay. Spousal sexual abuse, I wouldn't say that it's common, because I don't think it's common. Maybe because I haven't experienced it so much. Maybe it's common, but I haven't experienced it, and I've been married twice when I was in my dumb season. But even when I was married to an abuser, one of the things that didn't happen was sexual abuse. Most of the time, when you're dealing with a predator, he gets permission to have sex with you. A lot of times, his idea of sex or coercing sex out of you, sex out of you, is by abusing you or mishandling you, mistreating you, making you think the relationship is over, then turning around and coming back and charming you, and saying something nice to you, or just doing something and making you feel some type of way. And so that is common, and it ends up degrading a woman. And one of the things I've seen, and some of the women I've coached or what have you, I found that a lot of predators are doing this when it comes to marriage. A lot of times what they'll do is the man will make the woman feel low. Now, this hasn't happened to me, but I've coached women that this has happened to. They'll make the woman feel low. They'll make her feel unworthy. They'll make her feel some type of way. They'll make her feel like they don't want her. They'll make her feel, dirty. And then what happens is, when she feels that way, she feels like I need to build the relationship back, and he doesn't want to talk about it. Like, he doesn't want to talk. I try to talk to him. He doesn't want to talk about it. So she tries to sex her way back into his favor. And instead of him sleeping with her, he'll try to get her to perform sexual favors on him. I've actually coached couples who, and I've had to tell the guy, do you realize what you're doing? You do know what you're doing. You're trying to degrade her. You're trying to make her feel like a whore. You're trying to make her feel unworthy or what have you. You're getting off on this. You're trying to say, I don't want to satisfy you. You come satisfy me. You want, or what have you. And that's a power move. It's a power move. And so, sadly enough, you'll see that type of stuff in relationships. But as far as sexual abuse in, sexual abuse in marriages, yeah, you will see it in cases where there's a like extreme abuse, when the husband is really beating a wife and he may rape her, like in the case with Tina Turner, where she went through with Ike Turner. You will see that, but I don't think that that's as common. I think it's more manipulation and really coercing a woman out of her clothes, and sometimes people would use scriptures to do that. Your body don't belong to you no more. Of course it don't belong to me, but but the thing about it is, yeah, no. Could it be because of a natural desire to respond? I didn't understand that question. I'm sorry. It doesn't give security and commitment like Jesus. Right. How do you feel? Okay, let me go down. I'm going to go down here to the questions, guys. I know you guys are probably asking new questions. Can you leave a marriage for verbal and emotional abuse? Of course. Of course. It is never the will of God for you to be abused, but make sure it's emotional and verbal abuse. When I'm talking about that, I'm talking about cursing you out, calling you a B and all this other stuff. I'll answer your question, the pumpkin. I'm not sure if I got to yours or what have you. But yeah, sometimes a woman will say she's being emotionally abused when she's not. So just make sure that it's a case where you are actually being emotionally abused and not just told no. Or not just told, because some people call emotional abuse being told the truth. You know, if a man says, like if the woman's walking around with her breast out, dressed and seduction, he said you walking around looking like a hoe. And he's really telling her the truth. He's not emotionally abusing her, but she'll call it emotional abuse when she's not ready to change. So just make sure that it's situations where, you know, you're being manipulated, controlled, and oftentimes you're dealing with the Jezebel spirit. In a case like that, and in a case like that, yes, you can back away. I would say to try to get some counseling. You know, not just, you can invite him to counseling, but get counseling for yourself. Get some counseling, get some healing, get some deliverance and stuff like that. You can invite him and say, hey, I would like you to get some counseling. But at the end of it, if that's not rectified, then yes, because that usually transpires, it usually goes over into physical abuse at some point. Okay, I did answer your question about spousal sexual abuse. Okay. Is getting cursed every day for like a cup falling over or wanting to eat out. No, that's somebody who has anger issues, control issues. A cup falling over every day. Let me say this, a cup falling over, like if you're clumsy and stuff like that, if somebody's emotionally abusing you, that will cause you to become clumsy, because then you're so accustomed, like I'm so scared to not do things, not mess up, that I'm actually messing up. It will cause you to, you know, you be sitting up over there doing, and you drop something, you stupid, and all that other stuff. And that's not the will of God. God did not design us to live like that. As far as wanting to eat out, you should never get cursed out for wanting to eat out. But the thing I'm kind of being careful about is what I think of, and it's probably not the case with you, is what I call a provoking spirit. A provoking spirit. You ever seen a case where a woman is being abused, and if you watch the show, you will see her, she has sometimes a dominant provoking spirit or a passive provoking spirit. And I don't even know what you would call that spirit, but I'm talking about a case where she just constantly does crazy stuff. And even though you know abuse is wrong and she needs to get out of the relationship, you're just like, she would drive me nuts. She would drive me nuts if I, you know, she'll come in there and she'll say, babe, I've already answered that question, sis, but I talked to Mark today. Mark, your ex-boyfriend? Yeah, he was writing me on Facebook. And that's a provoking spirit. She'll constantly provoke him, and then at the end of it, she'll turn around and she'll become the victim. So it's kind of hard when you don't know the ins and outs. Now, getting cursed, that right there, that's a no-no. I don't care what, even if you have a provoking spirit, nobody should be cursing you, hitting you, or mishandling you, or anything like that. But I would just say be mindful, because I've seen cases where, and I'm not saying that's the case with you, and I don't want you to take that and say, well, do I have a provoking spirit? You will know if you have a provoking spirit, because you will always feel provoked or compelled to go in and ask silly questions or do silly things. And, you know, you'll always feel provoked to kind of tempt him. For example, to go into the room and while he's sleeping, turn on the TV and start blasting it. He wakes up, why you got on the TV? I'm tired with that. I'm sorry, I just wanted to watch some TV. But, you know, it's just certain things, and I call that a provoking spirit. And I think in a lot of cases like that, it's just the woman didn't develop. Again, I'm not talking about you, but I'm just trying to help the women of God out, because there are some women who are listening to this or will listen to this who do have what I call a provoking spirit. And it doesn't justify the man cussing them out. And if you happen to be a person in a relationship where you're getting cursed out, yes, I think you should back off. And doesn't justify them getting hit. But at the same time, I think it's important for us to understand or to identify when we have that, so that we don't go and get into another relationship, and then where we're always being a victim. Like every time we get in a relationship, we're always being a victim. I found myself, in relationships where I was always the victim, and it was because I attracted a certain type of person because of what was on the inside of me. So you want to make sure you're getting delivered from that completely, and make sure that, hey, like I said, take them. Hey, I'm going to get counseling. I invite you to get counseling as well. But I'm not about to get cursed out every day. I'm sorry. That ends today. I believe, honestly, one of the most effective and least used tools is honesty. I genuinely believe one of the most effective and least used tools is complete, utter honesty, because we're afraid to tell people stuff straight out. So as women, we do what TD Jake said we do. We circle the runway. So instead of us telling a guy the straight truth, what we do is we'll go around the runway with words, and we'll say, so, okay, let me start off. And we'll start trying to build something. And with a man, you have probably 2 minutes to get the point before he kind of clocks out. In a lot of cases, you have 2 minutes to get to the point. You don't have a whole lot of time. But we'll waste 10, 15 minutes. And by this time, he goes on the defensive because he sees that you're trying to build something. All you had to do was just straight up tell me. So I found that the most effective thing, and I wish I had known this in my 20s and 30s, is just to be honest with people and to say, can I talk to you? I'm going to be straight up with you. You got a problem with control. You keep cussing me out. You keep on trying to do this. And I'm not here to start an argument, but at the same time, I know that's probably going to be inevitable. What I am here to say to you is this. I'm not about to be called a B anymore. I'm not taking it. I'm going to get counseling because I want to find out what makes me think this is okay. I want to find out why I have accepted this from you for so long. I'm going to get counseling. I invite you to come along because I would love to save our marriage. But at the same time, I'm about to go build myself up. If you want to come and help to build me up, you are more than welcome. And I'll help to build you up. Whatever issues I got, I'll get them fixed. I'm going to work on me. And that's what I'm going to do in this season. I invite you to come along. But if you don't want to, that's you. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not taking it anymore. I'm done with it. You're not gonna call me no B anymore. You're not gonna call me out of my name. You're not gonna abuse me with your words. You're not gonna tear me down. I don't know what's going on with you. I love you enough to tell you. I love you enough to say, babe, I'm going to get help. If you're willing to come get help with me, praise God, I'm happy. If not, I'm just letting you know that this is over with. And if you're dealing with an abuser, a lot of times they're going to get mad and they feel like, because they don't want to feel like they're out of control. They hate feeling like you're trying to, because abusers look at things this way. Because they're so addicted to power, they look at things like, is you trying to take the power from me? You trying to get in control? Well, leave then. No, you know what? I'll leave. And one of the things that you have to learn is when an abuser walks out the door, you have to just be okay. You have to be okay. That temptation to chase him and say, okay, let's talk about it. I wasn't trying to upset you. You have to get past that temptation. You have to just stand there and hold yourself and say, Father, in the name of Jesus. Father, I ask in the name of Jesus Christ that you strengthen me. Help me in this moment, God. Father, I ask in the name of Jesus Christ that you help me. Father, I know that your will is going to be done. I give this over to you. Father, I need you in this hour. I need you in this moment. Is to pray in that moment and ask the Holy Spirit to guide you, to help you through that, and he'll strengthen you so that you can sit still. You can sit still and let him walk out that door. All right. Amen. Okay, guys, I'm going to look up here and see if I got one more question. I thought I saw another one, and then I'm going to get ready to close out. Thank you guys for coming back on. People on Facebook with all these jokes about R. Kelly. Yeah, about did I say R. Kelly? R. Kelly. Sad. It's sad. Give me a second, guys. I'm trying to make sure. Okay, looks like I answered all the questions. Let me make sure. Thank you. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. We really are. Again, I know we kind of ventured away from the topic, so I do want to say this. I want to make sure that we get back on there. So, one of the things we have to do is we have to deliver ourselves before we expect God to deliver us. We have to walk out of Egypt before God pulls Egypt out of us. We have to come to the point where we stop allowing ourselves to be cast as nothing but sexual objects, because it's becoming an expectation now that when we get into a relationship, we're expected to have sex. We're expected to give it up. We're expected to lower ourselves. We're expected to come out and watch these Facebook lives about how to get a man and how to keep a man. We're expected to do those type of things. And I found that if a woman would actually sit still and let God tell her her value and get through those seasons of feeling alone, get through those seasons of feeling rejected, if she was to allow God to really move, I found that if a woman gets to that point, that God will cause her to be found. God is obligated to bringing, and that's the desire of her heart. If that's the prayer that she's lifted up, that's to have a husband, God is obligated, but he's going to take her through a process of deliverance. If you've been raped, molested, abused in any way, God's going to deliver you. He's going to set you free from that. He's obligated, but he's going to take you through a process. I found that in my process, he delivered me from the old me. He delivered me from the old mindset. He delivered me from the trauma. He delivered me from the rejection. He delivered me from the fear. He delivered me from even the haunting memories. He delivered me from all those things. He delivered me from the unforgiveness. He gave me understanding. He gave me wisdom. He delivered me from so many things. And then he took me through a process again where he stripped me and made me feel like I was unattractive, because he was trying to teach me the value of who I am underneath the makeup. He was trying to teach me the value of who I am underneath the wig or the weave. He was trying to teach me the value of who I am. He wanted me to see me as he saw me, because I was too busy still as a Christian woman looking in the mirror thinking to myself, oh, I ain't going out like this. I can't go out this door like this. He's had me go for years where I'll go to the store with absolutely no makeup on, and I go into the store with no expectation of a man looking at me at all. Zero expectation of a man actually approaching me. I would go into the store like that until God taught me to love myself. And I'm going to tell you something about the Lord. He'll teach you to love yourself so much. He wants you to value what's in you, not what's on you. He wants you to value what's in you, not what's on you, not this flesh. He don't want you putting your value in this, because this is going to age because of sin. It's going to start to deteriorate because of sin. He doesn't want you looking at this. He wants you to value who you are on the inside. But as he started to teach me my worth, it took me a long time to begin to value what he put on the inside of me, because I was still used to this. And as I watched this girl go through the different changes, I'm just like, what is happening to me? Oh my goodness. No. I went through the different phases and stuff, but he was teaching me to love myself. He was teaching me that don't allow the sexual abuse that you have endured to define you as a person. Don't allow what you submitted yourself to. Because a lot of times we've submitted ourselves to sexual relationships, sexual abuse. We've given ourselves to predators. But don't allow the mistakes that you've made to define you. Don't allow that to make you feel like that you're not worthy. Because I remember growing up, one of the common misconceptions that I had, or a lot of women in the hood had, was that, oh, you see that guy over there, he only like those type of women over there. And so you learn to put women on a pedestal that MTV or BET put them on. You learn to rank people higher than yourself. And I didn't realize that that's what I was doing until my little sister would sit back and she started saying stuff like, what would she say? She knew the guy, like I knew he wasn't going to want me or something like that. And I started hearing other women say stuff like that. Girl, because he only like light-skinned girls. He only like girls with long hair. He only like girls like this. He only like girls like that. That I realized that's a big, huge problem in our community. And so that's what made me start walking out of it. When I started becoming and growing into myself, I started walking out of it, and I realized, I was like, you know what? And of course, I came out the wrong way. I came out in pride and conceit. But I was like, you know what? I'm not about to allow people to tell me that I'm less than. I'll show them, because I started to see. But again, God took me through a process of stripping me. So for those of you who were sexually abused, those of you who were raped and molested, it's time to talk about it. It's time to get healed of it. Listen, even though I know some of you, you're growing up and you still have families where, let's just say that you were molested by your dad. I wasn't, thank God. But let's just say that you were molested by your dad. And your dad's still living, and you feel like if you told anybody, it would kill him. You still need to talk about it. You need to talk about it. Now, maybe you're not talking about it in your family. You may have to go to a pastor or call an 800 number and just talk about it. And for those of you who don't know, I do personal counseling sessions, coaching, life coaching. So you can go to my website and book me. But that's TiffanyBuckner.com. You need to talk about it. You need to tell somebody, this is what happened to me. It is something about when something rolls off of your tongue, it causes a change to begin to happen on the inside of you. When you open your mouth and you tell another human being what has happened to you. There's something, but it's even more beneficial to you when you tell somebody who can give you some more information in return, because when you're talking about it, you're emptying yourself of it, and they need to fill you back up with wisdom. They need to give you something back in return to help you to go through the process. So it is necessary for you to talk about it. A lot of times we talked about physical abuse and all this other stuff. A lot of times women end up in those type of relationships because we don't talk about it. Everything that happens to us does not happen for us, but we can turn around, and God can turn around and make it happen for us. God said that the Bible says, what the devil meant for evil, God will turn around for our good. And so God can turn around all those evil things that hurt you, and he can turn around and use those things to benefit you. My story has become my victory. It has become my victory. It has become my banner. Jehovah Nissi is my banner, but my story has become a part of who I am. It's become my strength. It's become so many different things for me. I'm no longer ashamed of my story. I'm no longer walking around feeling like I'm less than. It's crazy the amount of confidence that God will give you. I can look at a guy and look straight through him and look right past him and not be completely not attracted to him, because when I see him, I see, yeah, he's handsome in the flesh, but I'm not moved by flesh anymore. I want to know what's on the inside of that man. I'm not looking at his flesh anymore and saying, I want to, get to know him. So let me say this, and then I'm going to get ready to close. I'll answer that in a second. I'm glad you said that. R. Kelly is an example of why we shouldn't have idols. One of the things we have to do is we have to get delivered from rejection. Rejection sets the stage for idolatry. Rejection and abandonment set the stage for idolatry. So if my daddy wasn't there, 9 times out of 10, I'll make an idol of a man. This is the reason why God wants to give you a father figure before he gives you a husband. He wants to give you a stable, functional relationship so that you can be in one. And when I say a stable, functional relationship, I'm not talking about an eros, romantic relationship. I'm talking about a relationship that's going to be kind of parental in nature, where somebody comes in, maybe your spiritual father, or God sends some brothers in Christ. So he wants to send some men around you who are not sexually or physically attracted to you, men who come in and begin to pour into you, who correct you and tell you your worth, what have you. But the thing is, we worship celebrities, and the reason for this is because we've tolerated them. In the book of Revelation, Jesus was rebuking the church of Thyatira for tolerating the woman Jezebel. This is what we've done. We've tolerated Jezebel. We've tolerated those spirits up in Hollywood. And the thing about it is, we not only tolerate them, but we defend them. We defend them. And we sit back and we'll come and see people attacking R. Kelly, and we'll go under his status. And this is what people do: go under his status and attack the folks who's attacking him. You don't know it all. You don't know it. And what they're hoping R. Kelly is going to do is look and say, wow, thank you for defending me. Wow. He going to come and like the status and maybe get in your inbox, and you can say, because I don't be liking them type of people and all this other stuff. And then the next thing you know, you're going to be on TV with a big ring on your finger, or some money in your pocket. This is what people, this is how people are trying to come up in life is by defending the victimizer instead of the victim. So what we have to do, guys, is we have to talk about it. We have to discuss these type of things, and at the same time, we got to stop supporting not just R. Kelly. We got to stop supporting every artist that attacks women through their music. If you're watching an artist and he has an all up naked woman on his music video, or the women have to twerk in his music video, you are a part of the problem. You are funding him. You're funding him. If you're watching a female artist who has taken off her clothes, you are funding the little girl that got raped and rejected in her. You're funding that. What you're doing is taking your money when Nicki Minaj has got a car and all this other stuff, and you're taking your money. You're like, yeah. You're funding that. You're not helping people to get free. You're funding that. And the thing is, wherever a person gets celebrated, they get stuck. Where they get humbled, they get delivered. Where they get celebrated, they get stuck. We are celebrating them in the wrong spot. We're throwing our money at them. We're throwing our praise at them. We're celebrating them in the wrong spot, and they get stuck right there. But when they get humbled, when they're no longer celebrated, when nobody's coming and checking them out, that's when they're humble enough to say, I made some real bad mistakes in my life. I did this and I did that. As a church, we are really jacking people up because we're still celebrating them. We're still celebrating them. We desire their platforms. We covet their platforms. We'll sit up here as Christians. We'll see people like R. Kelly and be like, oh my God, R. Kelly. Selfie. Can I get a picture with you? Can I get my picture with you? The word celebrity means celebrated person. We're still celebrating wickedness. And then we think that, well, God knows my heart. That's good enough. We think that that's good enough. Well, really what we're supposed to do is pull our money out. Now, I pulled my money out of that world a long time ago. But me pulling my money out of that world does not shut that world down. But if enough people come and say, I'm not going to fund a celebrity who has her titties out, who promotes sexuality, who promotes promiscuity, who promotes pride. I'm not going to celebrate a celebrity who puts women on display as sexual objects. I keep forgetting the right words. They're on the tip of my tongue. But I'm not going to celebrate people like that. I'm not going to put my money into that world. I don't care if it's a free download, you're still supporting them. I'm not going to listen to their music. I'm not going to let their music in my spirit. I'm not going to support anything that they do. If enough people do that, then guess what? We start getting the right people on the right platforms, and that's when the world starts changing. Our world is a reflection of the people who are on the platforms in our lives. We have, in the church, have exalted celebrities over pastors and leaders, which is perverted. See, perversion means the right thing is in the wrong place and the wrong thing is in the right place. We have a pastor, an apostle, a prophet, a teacher, and an evangelist is higher than a Beyonce. Somebody come argue with me. They are higher than Beyonce. But because we're so twisted and perverted, we admire them, we admire their platforms. Where ended you awe? Why are you looking at the whore and going into awe? Why are you looking at people and saying, wow, I'm such a fan. I'm such a fan. You got blood on your hands. Because what you were supposed to do is you were supposed to show her the way. Because you don't know how many of these people are looking at you and saying, I want to know the way. Even from a distance. But you over there. Listen. Your song Survivor, man, it did something to me. Oh, what's that song? The song you talk about plugging your messes with pages from the Bible? Oh, when you said that verse, I know I'm a Christian, but I know what you meant. We are funding people's demonic world. We're funding the kingdom of darkness. We're funding, and we're wondering why our finances stay under attack. God's not going to give you more money to fund a demonic world. He's not going to give you more money to fund a demonic world. We got to get to the point where God twists us and he changes us to the point where you no longer look up to the world celebrities. You got to understand there's a perspective shift. I don't look up to the world celebrities. They're beneath me. That doesn't mean that I think I'm better than them. It doesn't mean that I think, I'm saying when I look at them, I have what they need, not the other way around. I have what they need, not the other way around. I'm the one that has the Spirit of God. I'm the one who has the Word of God in her belly. I'm the one who can cast out devils through the power of God. They need me. I don't need them. They need me. I don't need them. It's called a perspective shift. But until you have a perspective shift, you will keep looking up to what the Bible refers. And I hate to be so candid, but you will keep looking up to what the Bible refers to as dogs. You will keep looking up to the wrong people, and you'll be throwing your wealth at them, not realizing you're throwing your wealth down, and it's going down into a pit, throwing all your wealth down. And then when a pastor come out and he starts teaching, and he says, sow a seed, put your money up so that you can return. Always trying to get somebody money. But you at the Beyonce concert, you paid $60, $75 to get up in there. But you don't want to get $20 in church. You don't want to get $20 in church. Because this is perversion. That's what perversion looks like. Perversion is twisting something where the right thing looks wrong and the wrong thing looks right. That's what perversion is. Perversion is twisting where we look up to the world's demonic celebrities, and they teach our daughters to be sluts. They teach our sons to be thugs and killers and to be gay or whatever. They teach us to go down a dark pit of life. They teach us the wrong thing. They teach our children the wrong thing, and yet and still we sow a seed into them. I got your CD. I got your CD. I got every last one of your CDs. But you don't have that many books from Christians. And you wonder why when a Christian comes out and speaks against these people, you feel the need to defend them. If I'm listening to your music, I have a relationship with you, and I'm going to want to defend you because I defend people who I'm in a relationship with. See, you're pouring out words of spirit. You're pouring out a part of yourself into me as I'm listening to your music. It's beginning to fill me up. And now I got a relationship with you to the point where I tremble when I see you. And now I got a relationship with you to the point I got a soul tie with you. It's one side and you don't have one with me. I got a soul tie with you. You got a soul tie with my money. And so now it gets to the point. And so when a Christian comes out and speaks against me, I'm like, it speaks against the person. Now I've made it to an idol. Hold up, because I'm in the church. R. Kelly, I'm in the church. Don't worry about this. First and foremost, the Bible said, don't you judge. Now I'm over here defending evil. The Bible says, woe unto them who call evil good and call good evil. Woe unto them. Woe unto them. And this is what we're doing. So, let's go ahead and we'll get ready to close this message. And I'll just say this, guys. If you have been the victim of sexual abuse, understand that sexual abuse is a cycle that continues to play itself out until it is broken. It is broken first and foremost through confession. It is broken through deliverance. It is broken through you acknowledging what behaviors are manifesting in your life because of perversion, because of that molestation, because of that rape. You got your tickle bitties on display, as rappers would call them. You sit up and you're still producing or manifesting seduction in your lips, your words, through sex. You're still manifesting those things. Get delivered from all of that stuff. Get some information. Get some counselors. The Bible says there's safety in the multitude of counselors. Get some information. Get counselors. Get wisdom. Get knowledge. Get understanding. And walk out of that thing. That means that I have to be intentional. I have to have a vision in mind in regards to what I'm trying to achieve for myself. If I have no vision, if I got a bigger vision in the world than I do in the church, I'm going to always return to the vision of the world. If I want to get delivered from the vision of the world, I have to create an even bigger vision for myself in the church. In Christianity, as a Christian, I have to create an even more powerful, an even bigger vision for myself. So in the world, I used to imagine, being with Shamar Moore or Mars Chestnut. In the world, I used to imagine being in a mansion with a fine man. If I couldn't have the celebrities, which I knew I probably wasn't gonna get, being in a mansion with a fine man, and or even staying in a decent enough neighborhood with a fine man and having all his babies, and us having this big old romantic relationship where we're constantly having sex, and excuse me guys, but we're constantly having sex, and we just have such a charming relationship. That was my fantasy in the world. Well, we'll go around the world and we'll do this. In the church as a Christian, my fantasy, my dream, my vision for myself is 10,000 times greater than my vision that I had, the vision I had in the world. It gives me something to pursue. My vision: build businesses, build people. My vision is to build businesses, build people, to create opportunities for people, to teach the word of God, regardless of wherever God takes me, to cast out demons, raise the dead, heal the sick. My vision is to travel the world with my husband. It's to do great things. It's to build schools, and to build orphanages, and to do amazing things. That's my vision in the church. If your vision in the world is greater than your vision as a believer, you will return to the vision of the world, and you will try to bring your vision into the church and get mad at anybody in the church who dares to challenge you. You will bring your perversion, your rape, your molestation, everything that was developed, the personalities and the ways and the plans that were developed because of the trauma you went to. You'll bring them into your Christianity. You'll bring all those voids in, bring them in, and you'll turn around and get mad at anybody who does not co-sign with you. You'll get mad at anybody who does not support your beliefs. This is what happened to the victims of sexual abuse. Every victim of sexual abuse has to first confront their abuser. In some cases you may not be able to. Some cases may be too dangerous to confront their abuser. They have to get counseling. They have to go through deliverance. They have to get on a functional foundation. They have to stay submitted, under that functional foundation. They have to go a season without being in a relationship, not even courting, not even passively courting somebody. Because there's a such thing as passive dating, where you give your phone number to guys and stuff, and y'all talking on the phone, and you use him to occupy your husband's space because you ain't got nobody, and you go out with him from time to time, and you disguise that relationship as a friendship, or you put him in the friend zone. That's passive courting. Another form of passive courting is when you have female friends that, even though neither of you have homosexual tendencies, but you are using her to fill your husband's spot. So you call her every single day. You use her to make all your decisions, and you want to hang out with her every time. That's passive courting. That's passive courting. You got to go through a season where your phone's not ringing. You got to go through a season where, even though there are people that you can call, they represent your old season, so they don't have any information to help you to get to the next place. It's just like if I call y'all, we ain't gonna do nothing but talk about the past. We ain't gonna do nothing but talk about the last time, or the same stuff we talked about the last time. So it's not going to be beneficial to me to make a phone call. You got to get to the point where you look at your phone and realize, I need new friends. That means I'm growing. I'm transitioning. I'm coming out of a mindset. I'm coming out of a stronghold. I'm coming out of a place. I'm getting delivered. I'm coming out of Egypt. When I look at my phone and I realize, and I'm going through my list, and I realize I got 100 numbers, but I ain't got not one person I want to call. Right then, I'm coming out of Egypt. I'm coming into a place of deliverance. That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. You want to get to that point where you're constantly watching yourself transition out of those things. And so, again, I feel a need to come back to this, and then we'll close. The whole thing with R. Kelly. What we can do is to pray for him and pray for the victims. Pray for his deliverance and pray for the victims. I found that a lot of times with God, he will allow people, in order, when they don't humble themselves, he will humble them in jail. He'll allow them to go to jail or something to happen so that they can get humble. So they can get to the place where they say, what I did was wrong, because jail represents a time alone where you wouldn't give yourself time alone, where you wouldn't sit at home in a season alone. Jail sometimes represents time alone where they have to sit in a cell, a small space, and really think really think, because a lot of times victimizers don't give themselves time to think. They're always on the go. They're always doing something. They keep their mind busy. They don't trust their own thoughts. They're afraid of having time alone. They are oftentimes extroverted, and they're calling everybody on the phone. They want to hear some type of voice going on, because they're not wanting to hear the voices in their head that remind them of the monsters that they are, or the monsters that they've been. So it's important for you to make sure that you're getting the necessary healing, the necessary deliverance. It's important for you to even acknowledge what you've gone through, and then to stop supporting people like that. Stop supporting people who somebody give me the word. I'm trying to think of the word, and it's on the tip of my tongue, and as soon as I close this Facebook Live, I'm going to remember it. But it ends in eyes, sexualized women or something. But stop supporting people who take women and make them look like whores. Stop supporting women, objectify. Thank you. Objectify women. Stop supporting people who take women and they put them on a platform and they say, you got to wear this makeup, and you got to have your breasts out, and you got to wear these short shorts. Stop supporting that. Stop supporting it. I can't encourage a young woman to come out of that lifestyle if she get in my car and she hear R. Kelly playing. I can't encourage her to come out of that lifestyle if she get in my car and she hear Lil Wayne or somebody who objectifies women playing. I can't tell her to stop that if I play Tupac in her ear. I can't tell her who she is if I'm playing it. I need music that encourages her, because she's already been subjected to a world that's been created for her by her parents, by her society, her community. She's already been subjected to a world. And in this world, every eye, I want you to understand, when you look in people's eyes, you see a reflection of yourself. Everybody that has looked at her has cast a reflection of a whore on her. So everybody that looked at her told her, you sexy. You sexy. You sexy. That's all you are. That started becoming a compliment at some point. See, when a man says you're sexy, that shouldn't be a compliment. He's saying that you are sexually appealing. But that became a compliment at some point. Dang girl, you sexy. Dang girl, you sexy. That has been her world. That has become her God. For her, looking in the mirror and getting that compliment has become everything to her. Stop subjecting her to the same world that she came out of. Don't put her in the same world. I don't care if she gets in your car and she says that pop, yeah, I love to hear that pop. Cut that off. Put something on there that makes her stop and look out the window. You know what she's doing? Listening. When she's listening to the words of the song and they're talking about, you're beautiful, God loves you, we worship you, Lord, you are wonderful, you are holy. She's not doing this. She's not doing this because really you're entertaining something in her. No, force her to listen. We're so afraid of doing that because we're afraid that we're not going to have another chance to evangelize her. That is a lie from the devil. We think that we have to go into the world. We got to act like the world to bring him in. I'm telling you, as a person who came out the world, that is a lie. That is a lie. All it does is brings the church into the world. It doesn't bring the world into the church. It just brings the church into the world. I don't have to go out here and put on certain music, get somebody in my car and be like, yeah, girl. I don't have to do that and show her my old dance moves in order to bring her in. I don't have to do that because I'm going to tell you something. Somebody who is broken is hungry for love. Chances are they've never experienced love. They've been raped, molested, and taken advantage of. Trust me when I tell you, as that woman, they're not looking for that. They're looking for you to love them. That's it. That's it. But because they're perverted, they don't know what love is. Because they're perverted, they don't necessarily know what love is. So they're sitting there. And when you start coming into their world, you come into a place that they've mastered, a place where you are small, a place where you have no voice. And you wonder why they end up having a voice in your life and you don't have one in theirs. Because you took them into a place, or you went into a place where they were masters. And then in order to maintain some type of control, you have to go back deeper into their world. You got to listen to who's hot now as a rapper. I hear people talking about Drake. You got to go into that world and you got to listen to a lot of that stuff and take that stuff in your spirit just to get her attention. And she said, I like folks like you. Because them other church folks, she's not talking about the church. She's talking about religious people. Do you know that you can be holy and not religious? Do you know that you can be holy and not religious? Do you know a holy woman pulls more women than a worldly Christian woman? A worldly Christian woman can get her attention. She can even get her to come to church, but she can't keep her. You know why? Because she's going to introduce that worldly Christian woman to the world. She's going to introduce that worldly Christian woman to the men in her world. That's what she's going to do. She's going to take over because the worldly Christian woman is mimicking her and not the other way around. It's the holy woman that can bring her in. It's the holy woman that can show her the truth. I'm not talking about, when I say holy, I'm not talking about the woman who refuses to shave her armpits and wears all white and stuff like that. I'm talking about a woman who's bold enough to say, hey, I came out of that world, baby girl. I know what that's like. I don't listen to that stuff anymore. I listen to nothing. I listen to this. I listen to music that is holy. I listen to this. I listen to that. God has delivered me. And she finds out, look at you. You're normal. Ain't nothing wrong with you. You got it going on. Most of what I'm trying to acquire, you already have it. I was trying to go through a man to get it. I was trying to open my legs to get it. And then you already have it. All I have to do is be holy. And I can teach her that. I can reach her faster than that girl who calls out there talking about something. Yeah, what's up? What's up? It's my friend who curses. You bringing her to church. You're not bringing her to Christ. There's a difference. You bringing her to church, but you're not bringing her to Christ. You want to win that soul for the Lord. Teach her to be holy. Teach her to walk out of their molestation. Teach her to walk out of their rejection. Teach her to walk out of their rape. Do you know how many women have been raped? And they need somebody to take them out of it. But what we doing? We taking them right back to the victimizer through the music. I've said this to you guys before, and I'll say it again. When I was 12, my dad had a friend, and his friend decided, and this man, he's been my dad's friend since before I was born. This man decided that he wanted me. He decided that he liked me. The guy was probably 40-something years old, and he started giving me money. Now, again, sexual abuse, whenever that's in a child, it follows them. You're constantly attracting sexual predators. My childhood was filled with sexual predators. And I remember this man would give me $15 to iron his clothes, even though I wasn't good at iron. I would burn holes in his clothes. I wouldn't get all the wrinkles out. And he would but that was his way of funneling money to me without getting my parents' attention. And one day I finally told on him. When I turned 14, because I got tired, I was tired of being scared. I was tired of him catching me in the kitchen and putting his hands where they shouldn't go. I was tired of always trying to go out the window and trying to get away from him whenever he was over the house. I was tired of that. And then he told me to come meet him at the store and told me he had a house that my parents didn't know nothing of, and that, he was going to take care of me. So long story short, I got tired and I told my parents. The next day I came home from school, he was sitting in my living room. And my dad said the only reason he let him back was because he threatened to kill himself. And I said, well, most fathers would have offered to do it for him. The point of that is that I was returned to my predator. My predator came to my house. My predator came to my house. So there wasn't a change from me confessing and me telling my parents. There wasn't a change. I found out the message that was conveyed, or the message that I took from that, was that if you tell, nothing's going to happen. As a matter of fact, he'll be able to come over to your house and further victimize you. This is what we're doing when we, this is the same thing. This is a picture of what we're doing when we turn around and we get a woman from the world and we play certain music for her in our car. We're taking her back to the same man who led her astray. We're taking her back to R. Kelly. We're taking her back to, I've never listened to Drake, so I don't know what Drake sings. We're taking her back to Dr. Dre. We're taking her back to Tupac. We're taking her back. And so we're not helping her to get free because of this misconception that I need to act like the world in order to attract the world. That is a lie from the pit of hell. And the women of old proved that to be a lie when they were bringing women into the church, even though they may have repelled a few, because some of them religious. But they were bringing women into the church, and they were helping people to get whole and helping people to get saved. They were telling women how to act, telling people how to dress. But nowadays, we don't want to be told. We want to be able to come in and bring our worldliness with us. And we want the church to accept our worldliness and just let us be and let us do what we want to do. Let us manifest our rejection up in the church. Let us sit up here and bring our seduction into the church. Let us bring all of these things. Let us bring our idols with us. What do you mean we got to give this stuff up? I know we coming out of Egypt, but come on, don't try to tell Egypt to come out of me. We got to get healed from that. Because when a woman comes into the church and she's hurt and she's been raped and molested, she's afraid. Because she sees the same thing she sees in the world. She's afraid. She see you over there. You still ain't free. And she's like, what am I in here for? What am I in here for? For all I'm doing is changing realness for fakeness. I'm exchanging being in a world where everybody keeps it real to you over here pretending to be holy. You over here pretending. What am I exchanging? So yeah, I'll come to your church. I come hang out with you. But at the end of the day, you don't ever see that woman give herself completely to God. Why? Because she didn't have a holy woman leading her. What you see is the holy woman who's supposed to be holy pregnant. What you see is a holy woman hanging out of her house taking pictures with guys with thug tattoos on them and all this other stuff. Just tattoos under the eyes. And you see the holy woman go right back into unholiness. It was never designed to be that way. If we're going to get free, we're going to have to get free by talking about it. We're going to have to get free through discussion. We're going to have to get free through confession. We're going to have to get free through deliverance. We're going to have to get free through counseling. We're going to have to get free through helping other people to get free. That's one of the biggest ways to get free, is to help others to get free. That's how we get free, people of God. Anyhow, I love y'all. I'm going to let you guys off here because we've been on here for a long time. I love y'all. I'm going to talk soon. Bye-bye. Love y'all.